Hughes, good morning, Lee. God, that's not very
It's a long
cheery.
enough song, that one, isn't it?
It is a bit long,
Not
isn't
long
it?
enough, though. It's about a minute too short.
Oh, no, but it's only
minute to
time.
nine, bite.
I was talking to a boy yesterday who used to do this programme. Was you? Oh, he says it's only time, it's only a number.
We're slaves to time. It doesn't mean anything.
No.
It's fleeting.
What?
Yep.
It is. Come here. Talking about time, when you give me some of your time on Friday, we have to give away
What time are you going to do that?
What time do you think?
Well,
Could I do it
Secret
after
Sounds at 10 to.
They were pushing it out.
Quarter to?
Before Secret Sound. But that means you have to
After?
come. You have to get up better.
I'm in here. I'm in the crack of dawn anyway.
Oh, you are.
What time do you want to
sneak
give away?
in.
What time do you want to give? It's about time you gave something away anyway.
Hold your tongue.
Secret Sound's been
Come
going
here.
on for 12 years.
Stop, will you? Behave yourself. Don't be taking a hold for me. So when do you think you could do it for me? Help me.
Do you want before or after the Secret Sound?
Maybe after Secret Sound.
Right, so we'll do
because
it-
you'll be in that seat and I could be here and I could do the raffle. drum.
Right, so we'll do it about 10 to 9.
Yeah, and what time are you going to give away 10 grand?
Don't know, I haven't been told yet.
I think it's after 11.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So that's an exciting Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, do you want me to stay around and help you? No!
No, you're okay. I'll have other people who do that. I wouldn't want to keep you out of bed.
No, you're all right. Do you think I go to bed after this?
Yes.
I've got real work to do.
All right, okay.
All right, good luck.
All right, today's Tuesday. That's ages away. All right, then. I'll have forgotten everything we've just talked about by Friday.
Yeah, okay.
Remind me, will you? Okay. It is the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. A woman's been charged in connection with the discovery of a body off Slieve in Donegal. The remains of a man in his 60s were found at the Sea Cliffs after an alleged assault between June 24th and 25th. It followed a series of searches around Slieve and also in the vicinity of Killybegs. Garda say a woman in her 20s who was arrested yesterday will appear before a special sitting of Letterkenny District Court this morning. A man in his 30s was charged in connection with the incident last month. Gardaí say they're concerned for the welfare of a 15-year-old boy who's been missing from the Burnfoot area for a week. Stephen Boyle was last seen on Tuesday August 22nd. He's described as being approximately 5 feet 6 inches in height, of medium build, with fair reddish hair and blue eyes. Anyone with information is asked to contact Gardaí. One of Letterkenny's busiest stretches of road will close for the next 4 nights to facilitate road resurfacing. The 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. closures are being implemented on part of the Ramelton Road. With more, here's Lucy Peoples.
Donegal County Council says due to road surfacing works, the R229 Ramelton Road in Letterkenny will be closed between the station roundabout and the Oatfield roundabout between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. from tonight until Friday night, Saturday morning. Meanwhile, the Ramelton Road between the Oatfield roundabout and the Ballyrain roundabout will be limited to access only for the same time periods, with traffic diversions in place. The bus stop will be temporarily relocated to the front of Glenini House on the Port Road, with Donegal County Council apologising for any inconvenience these measures may cause.
The Irish Farmers Association says a tweet from the EPA has caused huge rage among farmers. The social media post urged people to reduce their consumption of red meat and instead eat veg to be healthier, wealthier and more fabulous. It was later deleted after the IFA asked them to remove it. The organisations are due to hold a meeting to discuss the situation. The IFA president is Tim Cullinan.
I mean, that is wrong, and I think we are entitled. They are, at the end of the day, the EPA, like every other organisation, are funded by taxpayers' money, and I think absolutely I or anybody within the association have the right to ask them who was authorised to put this tweet up in the first place.
And passengers are being told to check with their airlines if they're due to fly into or out of Ireland today. It's because of ongoing delays and cancellations caused by yesterday's glitch at UK air traffic control, which, we're warned, may last for several days. It's not known what caused the incident. It has been fixed, but the UK's Transport Minister has ruled out a cyber attack. Hundreds of passengers were stranded at Irish airports overnight, but aviation journalist Jerry Byrne says anyone due to fly out today will be given precedence.
It's the actual availability of a plane, it's the availability of pilots, it's the availability of cabin crew. There are planes stranded all over Europe. So the plane that you are waiting for may not have come back yet. Now, chances are it probably got back last night, overnight indeed, but it may still be stuck somewhere.
Sunny spells and scattered showers today. Top temperatures 15 or 16 degrees Celsius with a mostly moderate northwest breeze. Mainly dry tonight with long clear spells, just some isolated showers. Lowest overnight temperatures 9 or 10 degrees Celsius in mostly light westerly breezes. That's Highland Radio News. Back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Get free delivery on all laptops at currys.ie for 3 days only. We've got the perfect laptop for your course from only $199. The HP Pavilion 14-inch laptop is only $499. Save €100. Free delivery only on laptops, only online, and only for 3 days. Shop online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply.
The county's number one talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday. It's the 29th of August, 2023. Another batch of you young ones heading out to school today. I did get a laugh at Lee's comment about the Robbie Williams song. Come on, come on, come on, come on. That is literally the way it would be like, isn't it? Anyway, listen, it's great to have you all on board. Thank you so much for choosing the 9 till Noon Show this Tuesday morning. Stay tuned. We've got a really interesting show. Community Garda information coming up for you after 10 and so much more besides. And we want you involved in the conversation as well. If you've never texted a radio show or had your opinion aired publicly, why not make it for the first time today? 086 60 25,000. 00353 86 60 25,000. If you're listening to us in Derry, Tyrone or outside of the Republic, you can give us a call on 07491 25,000. Again, 00353 7491 25,000. And you know what? With all those numbers, maybe it's easier to email comments at highlandradio.com. So we've got plenty of conversation that we hope you'll want to get involved in. And just to remind you, if you have a little bit more free time, if the house is a little bit quieter now, you want to throw us up onto your TV. On your smart TV, open up the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland, and you can watch us on the big screen. You can get your Fire Stick, the YouTube app's on it, if not download it, and watch us there. Highland Radio News and Sport. And Highland Radio Ireland, actually, it is on YouTube. And then we're on Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport. So if you want to watch the show, our first guest coming up, you'll be able to watch us converse there. Right, okay, let's look at the front of the newspapers. Disappointing news from around Donegal Town, because the people of Donegal Town are accustomed to the Pier car park being a hive of activity in late August as preparations are made for a Taste of Donegal Food Festival. But sadly, it did not take place this year. The major 3-day event traditionally takes place on the last weekend of August. A simple post on a Taste of Donegal's Facebook page last week confirmed what had been expected locally. It reads, a Taste of Donegal Food Festival is not taking place in 2023, thanks to all those who have supported us over the years. The festival last ran in 2019 and was a huge success, with the tents packed throughout the 3 days. On to the nationals now. The Irish Times this morning tells us that travellers in Ireland suffer a disproportionate burden of physical health conditions when compared with the general population, a study has found. Common conditions such as metabolic syndrome, asthma, bronchitis and tuberculosis are 2 to 3 times more prevalent in travellers than among the general Irish population, according to the findings of Trinity College Dublin research, which were published in the journal BMJ Open yesterday. The study states that among travellers aged under 65, there is a higher rate of intentional injuries, those caused by self-harm or violence perpetrated by another person, and a lower rate of unintentional injuries. This trend was linked to a mental health crisis among travellers, with the suicide rate 6 times higher than that of the general population. So this is a study confirming what we've talked about regularly on this programme. So it's not going to be any news to those who've been advocating. The true intentional injury rates may in fact be higher, as travellers may not present themselves to care settings for minor injuries and may be more inclined to self-treat or present late for care, the researchers said. Travellers aged over 65 had higher rates of injury compared with the general population. On to the Irish Independent now, and speculation continues as to what impact changes to electoral boundaries might have. We'll know tomorrow morning. Fionnán Sheehan writes that it's the biggest redraw of the electoral map in several decades and will affect every part of the country. Tomorrow, the shape of the constituencies for the next general election will be revealed. Ireland's rapidly growing population means we'll be getting at least 11 more TDs than anything anything up to 21, the figures will probably be on the lower end of the scale. Every county will be affected by the changes and the ripple effect of alterations. TDs will be waiting to see the effects of their patch or on their patch, and the map will also herald the start of the general election campaign proper. Game on, he says. Well, what do they suggest or speculate as it relates to County Donegal? When Donegal was merged 2 elections back, Sinn Féin over-egged the pudding, ran 3 candidates, and Pádraig McLaughlin lost the last seat to independent Thomas Pringle. Now, prospective Finance Minister Pearse Doherty and the re-elected McLaughlin have the chance to go from that calamity to taking 4 seats from 6 if the country is divided in 2 again. So what he's speculating, what the paper's speculating, that if Donegal were returned to 2 3-seaters, that Sinn Féin could return 4 TDs in Donegal. Do you think that's possible? 086 60 25,000. I think it'd be a long shot, to be honest with you. And I haven't had much chance to consider it, but I'm just thinking of candidates-wise, particularly what would be Donegal Southwest. Anyway, we shall see. We'll obviously debate and discuss all of that in the not-too-distant future. This is I was going to say bizarre, but it's a worrying, unsettling story from the Irish Daily Mail, because apparently 3 deaths in suicide kit investigation. Now, Garda investigating the sale of Canadian suicide kits to buyers in Ireland carried out welfare checks at recipients' addresses and found 3 people had died. In April this year, Canadian authorities contacted An Garda Síochána to inform them several of the kits had been sold to people in Ireland. It's understood at least 12 packs were bought. When Garda visited the addresses the kits had been posted to, they discovered 3 people had died. It's understood some of those who bought these kits in Ireland had life-limiting or terminal illnesses. Canadian Chief Kenneth Law, branded an online poison seller, has already been charged with supplying the kits to people across the world as part of an ongoing criminal investigation. So, in a relatively small population, 12 people became aware of and ordered these so-called suicide kits from Canada. 3 people, sadly, when welfare checks were carried out, were found deceased. And people most inclined to purchase these kits are those with life-limiting or terminal illnesses. Is that a story that's surprised you, reading it? I suppose maybe just because the whole idea of it is it's sad and shocking and just came out of the blue to me. If you've heard anything about that, let us know. 086 60 25,000. When we covered the story of a teenager who's alleged to have been involved in an attack on tourists getting bail, 2 of you, I think, text in going, well, that's what's wrong with this country, you know, people getting bail. And I think I said at the time, I says, well, they can only do what they can do. Do you know what I mean? For whatever the crime might be, and people have to be presumed innocent and all that kind of stuff. Well, lo and behold, a boy of 16 charged with attacking and robbing a group of British tourists, has been remanded in custody. His bail was revoked after cops told a court they caught him in Dublin's Temple Bar, the site of the alleged assaults, despite being banned from that part of the city. Sergeant Tom Murphy said officers spotted him in disguise while American football fans celebrated the Notre Dame versus Navy game on Sunday afternoon. Garda Derek Burton said the boy legged it and in the process of running knocked over an elderly lady. He then ran into an inspector who suffered a dislocated shoulder and will be off work for 6 weeks. The teen solicitor accepted he'd been in Temple Bar despite being told last week to stay out of the whole of Dublin too. There you go. So 2 people are injured now because bail was given. This Kissgate story is rumbling on. Luis Rubiales, he is a Spanish soccer chief who has completely, through his actions, overshadowed Spain's amazing win in the Women's World Cup. He seems a bit creepy character. At times during the game, he was seen when he was pleased with what was happening on the pitch. He was seen, I think, when he was pleased, he was seen to grab his crotch. So, you know, you can sort of see that where he sees how he expresses himself. Well, anyway, Jenny Hermosa then came up to collect their medals, what have you, and he grabbed her. I'm sure everybody's seen it at this stage. He grabbed her and he kissed her on the lips. And he put on a very stern defence saying, look, I'm not standing down. I did nothing wrong, blah, 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 blah. And on it rumbles. And we're going to talk about that a little later on. But eventually now everyone in Spanish football wants him out, except his poor mum. His mother has locked herself in a church and gone on hunger strike over the inhumane witch hunt against her football chief's son. It comes, as I mentioned, as Spanish prosecutors opened an initial probe into whether Rubiales' kiss with Jenny Hermoso after the Women's World Cup final victory amounts to sexual assault. I think they need to be careful here that the reaction to it is proportionate, so as it doesn't actually do damage to any campaigns, what have you. I'm not saying it's not, but I think they need to be a little bit careful. The Football Federation's chief's mother, a retired hairdresser, Angelise Behar, entered the church yesterday morning with a sister to begin the protest. It was not clear whether the police would be called to resolve the situation. The Divina Pastora Church is in the Andalusia coastal resort of Motril, where suspended Rubiales grew up. So I don't know how long he's going to persist with that. Enoch Burke is back at school, believe it or not. Sacked Enoch Burke began the new academic year as he finished the last attending the school he used to work at. The evangelic Christian continued to act in contempt of court following the near 3-month summer break, breaching a High Court order by returning to the grounds of Wilson Secondary School in Westmeath. It means his contempt fines, which are €700 every day he ignores the order, are now nearing an estimated €150,000. Burke, who travelled from his hometown of Castlebar, to Mayo, turned up before 9 a.m. and stood in a hallway in the building yesterday before leaving at 4 p.m. So he stood in the hall from 9 to 4. The Garda were not notified by the school. 150 grand is in the hall for now. And back to sport. Vera Pauw's fate will be decided at a board meeting of the FAI tonight, almost 12 months to the day since a 1-0 win over Finland that guaranteed Ireland's place in the World Cup playoffs. It is widely expected that the association's 11-strong board, which has viewed Director of Football Mark Canhan's review of the entire World Cup campaign, will decide not to award the Dutch woman a new contract. Now, I don't think, really, they are saying this is off the back of a review of the campaign. On the pitch, I think she probably deserves another crack at it, does she? But I think the fact that she seems to have lost the locker room is not very helpful at all, and that is what will seal her fate. Pauw retains support among board members, and strong contrasting views are expected to be exchanged at the summit. And I think it's going to come down to who's the boss, because that really kind of was the conversation that was sparked during the World Cup. Do you have a view on whether Mrs. Pauw should be given another crack at the whip? Let us know. 08660 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Dunstore's Double Savers has everything you need for a tasty packed lunch. Pick up a packet of ham, just €2.99. Perfect in a tortilla wrap, 8 for only €1.19. With a side of fresh fruit like €2 raspberries and much more for a brilliantly balanced lunch on the go. Then save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Double Savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
The sounds of laughter, the words of a friend, your favorite song. Sounds mean so much to us, and our world grows smaller if we experience hearing loss. At Hidden Hearing, you can trust our expert audiologists to help, with a no-quibble 90-day money-back guarantee to ensure peace of mind. Visit www.hiddenhearing.ie or call 1850 21 44 88. Hidden Hearing. Life is worth hearing.
Donegal County Council has prepared a proposed material alterations to the draft Letterkenny Plan and Local Transport Plan 2023 to 2029 for public inspection. Public consultation runs from Friday 11th of August to Friday 8th of September 2023. For details, see consult.donegal.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
All right, 18 minutes past 9. Now, the national heads of Spanish football have become the latest group to call for the resignation of Luis Rubiales from his role as president of the Spanish Football Federation. Rubiales, who is head of the RFEF, was suspended on Saturday by FIFA after grabbing and kissing player Jenny Hermosa following their World Cup victory in Australia on the 20th of August. And now the regional presidents have asked for Rubiales to be immediately present or to immediately present his resignation as president of the RFEF. Now, we also know, as we said earlier on, his mother now is on hunger strike in a church, and we hope... that doesn't have any bad outcomes for her. Maureen O'Donnell is a former Donegal player and Republic of Ireland underage international and joins us on the programme now. Maureen, lovely to have you on the show.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I am doing fine. Now, my initial reaction was ick, ooh. And then until it kind of blew up, I didn't think a great deal of it until then. What was your initial reaction to this man's actions?
Yeah, well, I remember the moment really clearly. I remember watching it live and thinking straight after, that he's going to be in a lot of trouble, for what just happened. I just knew it instantaneously, and then after a while I thought to myself, maybe they're in a relationship. I thought maybe they know each other a bit better because... you associate a kiss with that, I know I do, with something that's really personal. You're sort of in a relationship. I've thought then after, who do I kiss on the lips, apart from maybe a partner or somebody in a relationship. And then I went back to her body language. She didn't seem happy with it at all. And then, you go back to this thing, like he grabbed her at the back of the head. And he really, she had no choice in the matter, what was happening in that moment. And obviously she's celebrating the World Cup and this has happened, so she's probably thought nothing of it. But yeah, definitely unacceptable behaviour from somebody in his situation. Yeah, and you kind of get the impression that maybe that's the type of guy he is. Yeah, well, there's so much footage out there of him now at the minute, and listen, the thing about Spanish people is they're very tactile, they're very passionate, and usually what you get is a kiss on each cheek, and maybe a hug, and this guy is very eccentric. When you're watching video footage of him, as you mentioned earlier, he grabbed his crotch at one time, and those sort of things that he's doing, they're showing his character in a way. Like I watched the video footage of that moment, and he's surrounded by similar people in his position, professionals around him, and he's like a jack in the box. He's going nuts and he's grabbing his crotch. And listen, it comes down to professionalism in any job as well. There are underwritten rules, rules of how you conduct yourself in these areas. There's player conduct rules, there's professional rules, and he's just not carrying his out in any sense of the way at all. And that seems to be the kind of character he is. And then, when you put two and two together and then you see what the mother's at now, she's locked herself in a church, she's setting up a vigil, so maybe this is the type of upbringing this guy has. But he's in a big position within the Spanish Federation. And I just think that he should have conducted himself a lot better. And you sort of get the feeling that maybe there are those involved in women's football that are starting to maybe even welcoming the fact that this is pulling the curtain back, that this is kind of the stuff that goes on. I mean, I saw a few TikTok videos of male coaches and how they... Now, obviously, these are all snapshots and moments in time, but you just wonder, does it talk to maybe kind of a bit of a cultural thing, because he feels, you get the impression that he believes that he's entitled to do that because he's passionate about the sport and he's the big guy. And do you know what I mean? It feels very toxic. Yeah, and I mean, this is probably something that is going on within sports. And look, there's a huge amount of underlying issues going on here, and they're bringing a lot of them to the surface now in this just split-second moment. You got equality issues within the sport. You've got the balance of power that you see happening between the player and the president of a federation. We've seen it in America with women working and going into industrial and big corporations where males are very much at the top. And then you've got safety issues as well, where players need to feel safe, and particularly where you have women's sport involved. A lot of the coaches are men. And listen, we can't categorize men all in the one category here. Like, this is a minority and it seems to be popping up over and over again. Like there are some fantastic male coaches out there, and without those male coaches, I don't feel that the women's game would be as far as it is. It's excellent now to see the women coming into the forefront and, them coaching teams and bringing them to high levels. But a lot of people are going to jump on the bandwagon with an issue like this. And the sad thing about it is that it's got completely out of proportion now. This guy has taken the spotlight off what should have been a very joyous, historic moment for the Spanish.
It really is quite remarkable how this has dominated the headlines. Now, there are going to be people listening who instantly will want to come to his defence and sort of say, look, heat of the moment, passionate guy, it was just a kiss. Sure, other players, she lifted him up in the air. That's okay. But what eliminates that argument to me is he could have said in the aftermath, look, we were caught up in the moment. I shouldn't have done it. It was so inappropriate. I was just so pleased and so proud of the girls. The usual stuff. And he would have got away with it. But he didn't. Instead, he took a very, very strong stance on it, never apologised, and even threatened to sue the player for defamation because of the claims she was making. And that means, for me, there's no defence of him any longer, even if one was inclined to, because there is no remorse, no nothing. In fact, he doubled down on it more than once.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. His actions really speak for themselves now. And as you say, if he had been very apologetic about the whole thing, what has happened now is that you've got a player of her caliber, maybe afraid to speak out. She spoke out in one video and said that, she didn't like it. Shortly after, the Federation sent out a statement on her behalf then, saying that it was in the heat of the moment and everything was okay, and we're sort of defending this guy. But something really happened there, in between everything there, in between that video and in between the statement. And this goes back to players feeling safe, or people in any place, workplace, be it wherever, being able to speak up in their defence. She's obviously very passionate about her football. She's playing for her country. She doesn't want to speak out. And this happens within team scenarios where something's going wrong. One player speaks up, but you don't get the backing of all other players because they're afraid maybe of losing their place. She's really speaking up against the president of a huge federation here. They're after winning the World Cup. She wants to stay involved. So, she's afraid maybe then at the same time, but this kiss happened on the world stage in front of millions of people. Even, if this kiss was to happen off camera, would it have been appropriate behaviour?
Well, do you know what would be really interesting, how this would pan out? Say, for instance, there were no cameras there and this happened and she said, I'm not comfortable with that, and spoke to a newspaper. She would have been destroyed.
100%.
She would have been destroyed, and he would have retaken. That's the way the world is set up. Not being woke here and all that. Listen, you have to be honest. If it was his word against hers, she would have been destroyed.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line. This is what we're trying. I think that's the biggest issue here. This happened in front of so many people, and so many people seen it on this occasion. But there are occasions out here where this is happening behind closed doors. And as you say, the wrong person then, is not being protected. And within women's sport, particularly where there are male coaches involved and males are associated with the sport primarily, it really comes down to the safety. How safe do I feel in these scenarios? And if something did go wrong, who could I go to? At the end of the day, you feel isolated as a player in that position. And I think that's probably the biggest issue here. Listen, it has been blown way out of proportion now by the Spanish media, which is such a shame, I think, because at the end of the day, this should be all about the Spanish players. This was a split-second thing that happened. And now we're two or 3 weeks on, and we're still talking about that second that happened. We're not hearing about the goal. We're not hearing about the huge one. We're not hearing about the historic occasion. And it has really overshadowed the whole event. And at the end of the day, Greg, what he should have done was resign straight away, take the focus and the spotlight off him and put it back where it should have been. And probably, listen, the Spanish media as well, I know they're trying to protect players and it's a great thing, but all we hear about is the negative aspect of this Spanish victory now. We don't hear anything about the positive.
All right, stay where you are. Brian, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
What's your reaction to it?
Greg, I wouldn't pet your dog without asking. Never mind slobber over your wife, your sister, your daughter, partner, whoever. I think it was completely out of hand. And I also think if his reaction afterwards, sort of blaming her, was ridiculous. I mean, you were looking at her that she wasn't one bit impressed.
Yeah.
But she says herself, what could I do?
Yeah, because she would have been conscious that she can't push him away in that moment with the world's eyes on her.
No, I would say if it was normal, if it was somewhere away from the camera, she would have slapped him in the mouth, because most women would. But no, I honestly think it was ridiculous. And then to make it worse, to blame her. That's what really annoyed me. I'd say if he'd apologised and said, okay, with the heat of the minute thing. But to say it was consensual, for Jesus' sake, is obvious it wasn't consensual.
All right. Brian, thank you for that. I appreciate your time. I mean, obviously, Maureen, as happens in these situations, there's other videos circling, and one is of a jockey jumping off a horse and the owner of the horse, a female, going over and pretty much doing the exact same thing, but no one said anything. Right now, what can you say about that? I mean, the bottom line is yes, it is kind of the same, but because the gender roles are reversed, no one bats an eyelid. But it's still wrong. Just because society and the media didn't react to it the way they have to this story, it doesn't mean that it's okay for him to do that to her. Do you get where I'm coming from, Mike?
Yeah, 100%. And, I've thought about it this way as well. I thought to myself, if this was a female president and she was on the world stage and she took one of the players in the same manner and kissed her on the lips, it would be unacceptable as well. And the same, like if it was a male player and it was a female president and, she kissed him on the lips, it's completely inappropriate from the position she's in, but not just that. It's just inappropriate to go up and kiss somebody in the lips. And, I really, really thought about this. How many cultures do kiss people on the lips? It's something, I can't say it's sexual because it's wrong to say that, but it's definitely a very affectionate and passionate thing to do, is to kiss somebody on the lips. Now, kissing on the cheek is a totally different thing. And, even hugging from the position he's in, even hugging players, extend the hand, congratulations. It's a great thing that just happened, but we all get overcome with emotion, Greg. We all have had joyous moments where you just feel like doing something eccentric, but there are boundaries and you control yourself as a person.
But there are boundaries even if the roles are reversed. But it's I think it actually points to an issue. Like, there's got lots of guys listening to this show who had their backside grabbed in a bar, right? It's happened to me. It's not pleasurable. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't make it right just because it's a woman doing it. Do you know what I mean? So, and with no disrespect to this listener, I mean, this kind of feels a little bit like victim blaming. Now, I'm not saying this woman is a victim in that instance. I don't know. It'll come out in the wash. But to say, where was her outrage, her anger when she was kissed on the lips? Why didn't she slap his face or protest instead of walking away smiling to herself? But I think you have to imagine the actual scenario and situation and what's...
Yeah, listen, I put it back to, if that was me and I was that player in that position at that moment, I'm after winning a World Cup. I'm about to go on stage to get my medal, and like, let's strip it all back. This was a second. This was just a 1 second moment. Like, her reaction wouldn't have been that she's happy, she's joyous, she's moved on to the next there's a person standing next to her, she's going up to get her medal. She's not thinking about doing that unless, listen, yes, you mentioned it there, it's not appropriate for women to grab men in bars. It's like, I'm not specifically putting the blame back here to men, and men do get a tough time when it comes to it, but when you're talking about equality in the world, there will always be an imbalance of physical power when it comes to men. And it'll always go back to that. And men will be able to overpower women in that sense. And a lot of when we go back to it, a lot of this, they talk about sexual assault and stuff like that, it comes back to men, assaulting women. But this wasn't a sexual assault, but it was an inappropriate act.
Yeah, it's disrespectful. Another caller says, "Hi, Greg. That man should not have kissed that girl. He was wrong. Saw a lady on a talent show kiss a young lad full on the lips. Not the same uproar about that. Just saying." Now, again, and I'm not trying to defend other situations and not this one, but we also don't know. What relationship boundaries have been established. So let's say, for instance, that was in that talent show, the judge was the mentor of that person or whatever. Again, people are entitled to kiss each other on the lips if they wish to, but as I say, you have to. The context is what are the relationship boundaries between the two people, because you can get some people are very demonstrative like that and others that reciprocate, but then you get others that don't. So we need to know the ins and outs of each particular situation, I think, before to be able to make fair comparisons.
Yeah, 100%. We'll go back to this again. I also watched a video of the Rubiales just outside a bus, and there were females surrounding him, and one of the females actually was up and hugging him and very tactile towards him. So as you say, perhaps this is something that has been going on. He's obviously very close to this group of players. He obviously is, as I said, a very tactile guy, and he's used to this scenario. It seems to me like he's very familiar with the scenario where he is hugging players, and listen, as I say, he's in a lot of trouble at the minute because of the actual kiss. But as you say, maybe he felt like it wasn't all that big a deal. It was just a moment of joyous occasion, and he just grabbed her. And you made that split second decision, Greg, and you just overcome with joy, and you kissed the person, and you knew straight after it was wrong. Yeah. But as you say, yes, we don't know the relationship that goes on between him and these players. Is this a thing that's happening all the time?
Yeah, and also too, people might think, well, why are you talking about this for so long? I don't think really at this stage the conversation is about that specific moment. I think it talks generally maybe towards attitudes in sport, that there is a glass ceiling, or that women will always have to endure a certain level of this type of behaviour simply because they're women, even if they've just won the most prestigious football competition in women's football. Do you know what I mean? So I think the conversation's a bit broader, and I think a few coaches will look on and go, right, okay, maybe for the next season I'm going to change my behaviour slightly. Okay, well, any views on Vera Pauw? She looks like she's going to get the bump tonight. Do you still follow the soccer, even having played as an underage international, Maureen?
Yeah, listen, again, that whole thing as well, Ireland got to the World Cup and it was very much tarnished by a lot of the issues that were going on behind the scenes with Vera at the time, and she's got a lot of bad press, and, it really took it away from the fact that Ireland were in the World Cup for the first time, which again, you go back to the media and how they portray things, and the media is great if you want publicity and stuff like that, but the media sometimes can be very negative in the wrong ways. We're trying to be very positive about our country and the World Cup.
Well, now, in fairness, I agree with you for the most part, but it wasn't the media that had a row with Vera Pauw on the pitch.
No, absolutely. I do agree. That was our own captain, Kitty. And listen, fantastic player, but I'd say it was building for a long time, Greg, what was going on, and again, in a split second, you're out there, you're frustrated as a player. And, again, she should have been more professional probably at the time. And then she tweeted something after as well, which wasn't really very appropriate. But what she tweeted was that she felt silenced. And I mean, maybe this is related to this. It goes back to this issue again as well here, where a player feels like they can't talk if something's going wrong, and that's what you want to try and eliminate within the sport.
But when they're deciding, and there's going to be mixed views on it, they're talking about it being a review of the World Cup qualification and performance. Will it really be about that, though? And because, say, for instance, it comes down to, does she have command of the dressing room going forward? Well, maybe you could end up with a team of players that want to run the dressing room for the next manager coming in. Or, we don't know the ins and outs of the relationship, but there are defined roles there and roles that need to be put in place. It'll be very interesting to see at the end of the day, if she's not given an extension, for what reason is she not given an extension? Because I don't think it can be off the back of achievement with the team, with the national team. It will have to be personalities.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to consider there. Sorry, that's my bell here, but there are so many things to consider. It's going to go again one time.
It's okay. We can't actually hear it. The wonders of Zoom, it cuts out the audio, but I'll not keep you very long. Just 30 seconds, Maureen. I would be interested in your views on this.
Yeah, listen, Vera obviously has come with a lot of package and has got a lot of media press and media for maybe the wrong reasons with players that she's worked with in the past. And obviously she's got this group of players on now, and it doesn't seem to be working that well either. And I know she brought them to a World Cup, but, you probably got to have a happy camp. But the other issue I just want to mention before we go is that when you change the balance of power between coach and players, is it acceptable now for players to say, run and this is what's going to happen? Players are going to feel like they have more power to speak up and they'll run the show. And that's not necessarily what you need to happen in a team. You have to have your head coach who says how the team runs, and you have to have a level of respect for them as well, Greg. So it's very important. So it's going to be interesting to see if Vera stays on. My views is I don't think she will probably get to stay on. And again, it comes back to we may not hear very much about it, Greg, because there's very little transparency, when it comes to those things. And as you see, in all camps, they like to keep things hush-hush. So we mightn't hear the truth, about the matter at hand.
Okay, it's an interesting one as always. Listen, thanks for so much of your time, Maureen. I really appreciate it. Maureen O'Donnell there, former Donegal player, of course, in the GEA, and Republic of Ireland Underage International.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At ESB Networks, we're connecting Ireland to a clean electric future. And as part of the National Smart Metering Programme, we're now installing smart electricity meters in your area. Your new smart meter will reduce the need for estimated bills, help you to manage your electricity usage more efficiently, and enable you to access smart electricity products and services. We'll contact you before your meter is installed. Find out more at esbnetworks.ie/smartmeter.
The Citroën EC4 and all-new EC4X are fully electric, so that means zero exhaust emissions. Their progressive hydraulic cushion suspension means zero vibrations. Their renowned advanced comfort seating means zero discomfort. And now, their impressive finance offer means % interest rate. Book a test drive today at your local Citroën dealer, and zero for yourself.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Where's the party? Bundoran presents Ireland's biggest indoor dancing festival, the World Matchmaking Festival, in 4 venues for 10 days, 10 nights, September 29th to October 8th. Starring 35 bands, including the Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, David James, Declan Nerney, plus blind date and speed dating. Book now for accommodation and entertainment package deals. Log on to showtours.ie or call 0818 300 888. Meet your match in Bundoran. Very special guest from Lisdoonvarna, the world famous matchmaker Willie Daly.
Now, at least 3 Irish women in their 30s have died this year after having surgery in Turkey. This is weight loss surgery, according to one of Ireland's leading private cosmetic and weight loss clinics. Every year, thousands of men and women from Ireland travel to Turkey for bariatric surgery. Popular procedures include a gastric bypass and gastric sleeve. Now, you will remember we have spoken to consultants locally who've expressed their concerns in this regard, saying that much of their workload can end up being aftercare. And also dealing with or addressing problems that have emerged after these procedures. So we know this is something that the local acute hospital is having to deal with as well in terms of the aftermath of some of these operations. Professor Helen Heenahan is consultant bariatric surgeon at St Vincent's Hospital in Dublin and joins us on the programme now. Professor, good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me.
I mean, obviously, people are going to be able to contact the station and say, you know, I went over there, I had this surgery, it worked perfectly, and it's had the outcomes that I expected to have. And that's fine for people that it works for. But we can't ignore the fact that there are people dying or having very negative outcomes. Why is that happening? I mean, it's disproportionate in number to those that might have poor outcomes in Ireland, is it?
And again, that's an unknown, Greg. So yes, just like my colleagues in Letterkenny General Hospital who see numerous emergency presentations on a monthly basis and have to deal with the aftermath of that, we've seen a threefold increase in St Vincent's University Hospital in the last 3 years. In the volume of people returning with pretty significant complications. They're sick enough to warrant admission to tertiary referral centres such as ours. The problem is we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many people are going abroad and, as you mentioned earlier, are unharmed and actually have the expected outcome, which is a safe procedure with a good weight loss result and good health benefits. That's what bariatric surgery should achieve. My impression is, though, that there is, as you mentioned, a higher risk of complications in certain parts of Europe and further afield, where I'm not sure just of the quality of surgery and healthcare that's being delivered, given the types of complications we have seen in the last few years. And of course, hearing reports that sadly a number of young people have died, have not made it back home.
Yeah, and I just wonder, even, I remember there was a conversation about this on, I think it was on Liveline last year or the year before, and there were people saying that they were disappointed they did it because they weren't able to eat the food they love anymore. You know, which suggests that maybe people aren't, you know, having a full consultation, understanding exactly what's happening, what it means to their life. You know, that's separate, of course, to sort of emergency situations when they come home, but it just made me wonder, like, what do people think is going on here? Presumably this is, you know, it's quite a serious operation. Anytime that you're put under the knife, it carries risk.
Absolutely. This is major abdominal surgery and it is life-changing. So it's for life-changing for the better when people enter into it and, you know, they know they really need to do something to lose a significant amount of weight to improve their health. And people who embark on in considering bariatric surgery really have to have considered it for several months. I think in Ireland, where we deliver these surgeries and through the public system in Vincent's, through our weight management clinic, which is based in Loughlinstown, we probably, you know, leave people too long waiting because, you know, the legacy of underfunding for years is that, or even decades, is that people are on waiting lists for years. But it is important that patients have a minimum of about at least 6 months of assessments with the multidisciplinary team. The operation is just a small part of the journey through bariatric surgery. In fact, I'd say it's almost the easiest part. The more difficult part is the work by the multidisciplinary team that help prepare patients. Having already selected out that this patient looks like a good candidate for surgery, understands what they're getting into, is ready and able to make the important changes needed to live safely and well with bariatric surgery, and they understand what follow-up is required and they're committed to that. Unfortunately, when people go abroad, the steps before the procedure and after are, for the most part, missing.
And in terms of aftercare, I mean, presumably with this type of operation, there'll always be some level of check that would be required. Do people just come back and say, by the way, I got the big part of this done in Turkey or wherever it might be, now it's over to you guys to make sure, you know, I continue in good health? And that's quite a burden on the Irish health system as well, of course.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't absorb that at the moment. So people are waiting years to get that aftercare. You know, we obviously will try and absorb as much of that work as possible, but it is then displacing people who are on our own waiting list, waiting for care. So, and GPs are inundated with requests from patients to provide the aftercare for them, and that's the instruction of the clinic that most people have gotten when they have their surgeries, is to get this follow-up care back at home, but without having consulted with their primary care practitioner in the first instance to see have they the capacity and the means to provide that. It's not too onerous. It involves blood checks for nutritional markers after surgery and ideally dietitian visits to make sure someone is eating the right way, eating enough healthy, nutritious food, taking the right supplements, which are really important. But if that isn't in place, there can be really important and dreadful consequences nutritionally for patients, and they won't get the best result from procedures.
And obviously, in terms of verbalizing, for the most part, we hear is the positive stories. Yeah, do we need to sort of do an assessment or review of what exactly is going on, how many are going over, because it's not just the amount that travel, it's then the inconvenience or the displacement of people that are here on waiting lists as well, and especially if people are losing their lives or maybe even suffering, life-changing internal injuries. Who's to say? Do we need to do an assessment of this, like the HSE, to sort of so we get a full grasp of what's going on? If there is a problem, what the extent of it is, how do these figures compare to what's happening in Ireland, and so on and so forth, Professor?
Exactly. I think we do. I don't think that'll stop people travelling abroad. I think the best thing we could do is provide a safe and accessible service here. And we do provide a very safe service and a very effective service, but it's not accessible at the moment without a lengthy wait. And I understand why people go abroad. Bariatric surgery is the most effective treatment for severe obesity and its complications. And for the most part, it should be extremely safe to undergo. But that's only when it's delivered as part of a multidisciplinary team with preparation and follow-up. I think we need to have a registry. I do think a registry will be important to try and identify the denominator. We can't tell people what centres or units have higher complication rates if we don't know the denominator. But I think if we had an idea of how many people were going, where they were going, and who's doing these surgeries, and then we could, add the complications we see to that registry, we would have a much better idea if certain complications were above what's considered a key performance indicator or an accepted level. There's a risk with every surgery. We get complications, although we do our absolute best to try and prevent them. And the important thing about having a complication is that you identify it quickly and that you manage it afterwards. And again, my fear is that a lot of people are being sent home with complications and told to present to their emergency department and have to travel really unwell, which is quite dangerous.
I mean, can you imagine a situation, and I don't know, maybe someone has an insight, but that a hospital in one of these foreign countries say, actually, we're going to have to keep you in for another month. We're not very happy with such and such. Does that happen? I can't imagine so, because they probably need that bed. And of course, bariatric surgery is your speciality, but it's not just that. We've all heard of the deaths of people going through cosmetic and dental surgeries as well. And I think the figure is 8 in total if you include those disciplines. Okay, so what is your message to someone considering this, Helen? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because as you say, it's incredibly effective. It can be life-changing, and there are long waits here. But I suppose there's a balance to be struck. What would you say to someone asking you, should I do it?
Yeah, and again, it's like you said, Greg, it's really hard to tell someone don't do this, because I know it's a very effective procedure, and for most people, they will have a good outcome. However, I would advise people, if they feel their health could allow them to wait and have it done in Ireland, absolutely, please do that under the guise of our multidisciplinary team. And I have to say, the waiting list will decrease. There has been a significant investment by the Department of Health and the HSE in treatment of all treatments for obesity, including diet and lifestyle changes, support with that, medications and surgery. I think they'll take a few years to materialise into shorter waiting lists, but that will happen. So there has been that investment since last year. If people are still deciding to go abroad, I think they really need to look at they shouldn't assume that the same safeguards that we apply to surgical procedures here are automatically in place in other countries. So they should do something to find that out, find out the qualifications. Like to provide bariatric surgery here, we have to be on a specialist register, have demonstrated we have significant volume and expertise, have maintained our continuous professional development. So there's a lot of quality markers here for not just the surgeons, but also for hospitals. The hospital they're going to should be accredited by an accrediting body such as JCI, which would accredit a hospital like St. Vincent's University Hospital. And that it reflects certain standards, not just in the operating theatre, but across the whole hospital. So a patient should expect quality care. So I suppose look into the expertise of the unit, the team that are going to be treating them. But also, they really should ask, am I suitable for this procedure? That the onus is on the team to help help a patient determine that. You might meet the criteria in terms of weight and BMI and health, but you may still not be suitable for other reasons, and you might, have a higher risk.
And do you also, in the process properly here, and I won't delay you much further, Professor, but presumably before this operation is undertaken, that you speak to the patient at length, I would imagine, about how, yes, you might lose weight, but this will change how you absorb stuff, what you can eat for the foreseeable future. If it's about weight, yes, of course, the weight will come off, hopefully, but your life does significantly change in terms of what you eat and drink and how you do that.
Yeah, and someone has to be prepared for that, and that is not easy. It's very difficult to make changes to your relationship with food. And for some people who have lived with severe obesity for a long time, the relationship with food can be very complex, and that requires a significant amount of preparation by a psychologist, dietitian, as well as the medical physician and surgeon to prepare somebody and let them know what to expect, because it is permanent. For the most part, these procedures are irreversible, and someone shouldn't enter into it if they decide, well, if it's, I don't like this, it's reversible. Because that undertakes a much more significant risk. So someone has to be prepared and then have support in place afterwards. They really should have supported their family doing this. We've had instances where people come back with complications and they haven't told anybody. We've had young people who haven't told their parents, told their partners, and have tried to just say they were going on holidays, and now they're in hospital having a complication treated for over a month. Really difficult. So they really should have support from their families in going away, but ultimately know what to expect and be committed to change.
All right. It's very interesting. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That's Professor Helen Heenahan, who's a consultant bariatric surgeon at St. Vincent's Hospital in Dublin. And a caller says, Greg, I'm one of those people who did this and I wouldn't change a thing. I fully checked out the hospital before I did it. The aftercare for a doctor is minimal. I had to get my bloods done here, which I would pay for anyway. Definitely wouldn't change a thing. I eat what I want now, just in smaller portions. And again, it wasn't to try and discourage anyone from doing so if they fully research it, but not everyone might. And maybe after the back of that call, people might go, right, okay, I want to do this, but I'm going to check out. I'm going to check out a little bit more. Right, Greg, I have a grandson who's 26 years of age, and for the last fortnight he's had an unbelievable toothache. He's been told by his own dentist and others that the next availability for an appointment won't be until the end of October. He is in extreme pain, but they won't seem to take him seriously. What is your advice? Are there not dental practices that take people in like that, aren't they? I think I had to go to one a couple of years ago. Maybe it's changed since then. But anyway, a person, 26 years of age, unbelievable toothache for a fortnight. His own dentist can't see him until the end of October. What do? All right, that's where we have to leave it on the first hour of the show. We're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices. And after that, Community Garda information and so much more besides. Please stay right where you are. We will be right back.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in-store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Calling parents, teachers and all those concerned to an important meeting tonight, Tuesday at 8 p.m. in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, discussing parents' rights regarding the content of the new sex education to be taught as part of a school's curriculum.
For all the biggest names in cosmetics and makeup, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Choose from Lancôme and Clarins, Blank Canvas, Inglot, Note and many more. With a great selection of gift sets also available in-store and online. For any cosmetics or makeup queries, just talk to our resident skincare consultants Mary or Gemma. McGee's Chemist, Main Street Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie. With the best, costs less.
Imagine a device so innovative, accept cookies? There is a device so forward-thinking, accept cookies? A device that is so modern, you accept cookies? Now imagine a technology where cookies don't get in the way of your advertising. Welcome to radio. Advertising that's cookie-free. Visit radiocenterireland.ie to see what radio can do for your product or brand.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Husqvarna, one of the biggest names in construction worldwide, is hosting a special Products Roadshow this Thursday the 31st at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. See the full range of unique products designed to make construction customers more productive and successful. With goodie bags, special offers and a big draw on the day for a new Husqvarna concrete saw worth €900. Don't miss the Husqvarna Construction Products Roadshow this Thursday the 31st from 10:30 to 3:30 at Watson Hire, Letterkenny.
Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders Show and Sale of Eurostar and SIS approved rams will take place this Friday, 1st of September at Reform Mart. The show is at 6 p.m. with a sale at 7. Online bidding available via MartBids app. That's this Friday at Reform Mart.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. A woman has been charged in connection with the discovery of a body off Slieve League in Donegal. The remains of a man in his 60s were found at the Sea Cliffs after an alleged assault between June 24th and 25th. It followed a series of searches around Slieve League and also in the vicinity of Killybegs. Garda say the woman in her 20s who was arrested yesterday will appear before a special sitting of Letterkenny District Court this morning. A man in his 30s was charged last month. Gardaí say they're concerned for the welfare of a 15-year-old boy who's been missing from the Burnfoot area for the past week. Stephen Boyle's been missing since Tuesday, August 22nd. He's described as being approximately 5 feet 6 inches in height, of medium build, with fair reddish hair and blue eyes. It's unknown what he was wearing when he went missing. Anyone with information on Stephen's whereabouts is asked to contact Gardaí. There is a photograph on our website. There are calls for extra overtime funding for Gardaí across all regions. Government recently announced a plan to boost the overtime budget by €10 million in Dublin after a series of high-profile attacks and assaults. However, an independent TD in Galway East says the crime is an issue for the entire country. Sean Canny says rural crime and the absence of a Garda presence on the ground is a serious concern.
In my area here, we have a lot of burglaries going on out in the country areas and indeed in the towns and the villages, and we need to have a better presence of Gardaí to be seen on our streets, in our towns and villages. And the only way we can do that at the moment is make sure that there is overtime funding available to allow people to work longer hours and get out there and be seen.
Meanwhile, Gardaí have published their Public Attitudes Survey 2022, which shows 45% of people believed local crime to not be a problem. According to respondents, national crime is more of a problem than local crime. 49% said they didn't worry about becoming a victim of crime. 63% reported having no fears or very few fears about crime. Those figures available in more detail on our website. One of Letterkenny's busiest stretches of road will be closed for the next 4 nights to facilitate road resurfacing. The 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. closures are being implemented on the Remelton Road. Meanwhile, road repairs will also necessitate road closures this week in the vicinity of Quigley's Point. With more, here's Lucy Peoples.
Donegal County Council says due to road surfacing works, the R229 Remelton Road in Letterkenny will be closed between the station roundabout and the Oatfield roundabout between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. from tonight until Friday night, Saturday morning. Meanwhile, the Ramelton Road between the Oatfield roundabout and the Ballyrain roundabout will be limited to access only for the same time periods, with traffic diversions in place. The bus stop will be temporarily relocated to the front of Glenini House on the Port Road, with Donegal County Council apologising for any inconvenience these measures may cause. Meanwhile, traffic diversions and temporary road closures will be in place between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. at the R238, R240 Quigley's Point Junction tomorrow and Thursday. The road will be closed from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for essential repair works. Local diversions will be in place through Quigley's Point Village.
The IFA says a tweet from the Environmental Protection Agency has caused huge rage among farmers. The social media post urged people to reduce their consumption of red meat and instead eat veg to be healthier, wealthier and more fabulous. It was later deleted after the IFA asked the EPA to remove the tweet. The organisations are to hold a meeting to discuss it. The IFA president is Tim Cullinan.
I mean, that is wrong, and I think we are entitled. We are, at the end of the day, the EPA, like every other organisation, are funded by taxpayers' money, and I think absolutely I or anybody within the association have the right to ask them who was authorised to put this tweet up in the first place.
Passengers are being advised to check with their airlines if they're due to fly into or out of Ireland today. It's because of ongoing delays and cancellations caused by yesterday's glitch at UK air traffic control. It may last a number of days. It's not known what caused the incident, but the UK Transport Minister has ruled out a cyber attack. Hundreds of passengers were stranded overnight at Irish airports. And aviation journalist Jerry Byrne says one of the problems now is that many planes are out of place.
It's the actual availability of a plane, it's the availability of pilots, it's the availability of cabin crew. There are planes stranded all over Europe. So the plane that you are waiting for may not have come back yet. Now, chances are it probably got back last night, overnight indeed, but it may still be stuck somewhere.
Well, the forecast sunny spells and scattered showers today. Top temperatures 15 or 16 degrees Celsius this afternoon in a mostly moderate northwest breeze. Mainly dry tonight with long clear spells and just some isolated showers. Lowest temperatures 9 or 10 degrees Celsius tonight in mostly light westerly breezes. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 29th of August. The death has taken place of Charlie Dorian, Tonduff, Clohan. Charlie's remains will repose at the family home from 11 o'clock this morning with Rosary nightly at 8 p.m. Removal on Thursday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at Our Lady of Perpetual Succor Chapel, Glenfin. Burial afterwards in Kilwirra Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations to St Joseph's Hospital Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Marley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The funeral mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Lochry, née Farrell, 197 Lower Main Street, Strabane, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Melmount Manor Residents Comfort Fund, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Patrick Murray, Liscooley Villas, Castlefin, formerly of Gorchin South, Castlefin. Funeral from Liscooley Villas at 10:15 this morning, going to St Patrick's Church, Murlock in Lifford. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Kennedy Undertakers in Castlefin. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
what can you bag at Maxall? Well, there's fuel, of course, rows of coffee, crisps, bars, brekkie rolls, chicken fillet rolls, bread, cornflakes, Rice Krispies, oats, milk, apples, oranges, bananas, ham, cheese, kids' lunches, pasta, rice, chopped tomatoes, spaghetti hoops, beans, tuna, pizza, rasher, sausages, mayonnaise, Ben & Jerry's, goodies, firelogs, cozy night in, tea bags, orange juice, cookies, biscuits, toothpaste, toilet roll, bin bags, cake, card, mum's birthday, chewing gum, jam, soup, shampoo, still water, sparkling water. See? You'll find bags more at Maxall. Oh, and dog food.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Good morning, everyone. 8 minutes past 10 on this Tuesday, the 29th of August. Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you are just joining us. I hope you're all very well indeed and able to enjoy this brighter, fresher morning across the northwest. Lots of you texting in this morning. Thank you very much for that and your calls as well. We were talking about the under fire football boss in Spain after his kiss. Oh my God, get a grip, people. It is a tradition. A traditional act, cheek to cheek in certain countries. OK, this was on the lips. This was a moment of total excitement and joy for the players. I'm sure he regrets it, but he's not expressed his regret, you see. And that's the point I was trying to make to Maureen. That, you know, maybe if he came out and said that, then people would go, listen, it could have happened to any of us. Greg, where was that bar that you had your backside felt in? Must pay a visit. Okay. One time not long ago when ringing in the new year, people all hugged and kissed each other on the lips, and now that's all gone. Things have changed. I think at that time, if people were coming up kissing me on the lips, I'd have got a clip around the ear, to be honest with you. I'm not sure I recall lots of people kissing each other on the lips, but as I say, it's some time ago since that kind of happened. One question, if it were two men that kissed or two women that kissed after the game, would there be as much word about it? Well, I presume if one of them said, hold on, you've kissed me on the lips, I don't like that, there would be, I presume. Seems to be an endemic in Spanish football. This is the kind of behaviour the Spanish women's football team have been on the receiving end for years. Here's former coach 27 years ago, forced out after an entire squad called him to go. That's Ignacio Correa. Another, don't humans get carried away in the emotion. Let's ban this from now on. Well, you see, again, the defence wasn't put forward that... this was done in the heat of the moment. You see, you're offering a defence that he himself hasn't really offered. If he had come out and said that, then I think this would have blown over a long time ago. I wonder if the kiss was by a female on a male, would it be looked at upon as affection, or is it now assault? Again, I think if we had the Princess of Spain grabbing, I don't know, mixing up my players here, Luis Figo, grab by both ears and planting a kiss on his lips, I think in 2023 it still would be seen as somewhat controversial. But anyway, listen, I don't know. Greg, last night I was driving the back road, the back of Errigal Road. Can you count how many deer signs I came across? I'll tell you now, none. When driving, I witnessed 4 groups of deers on the road at 10:30 at night. You really had to proceed with extreme caution. I just want to know, if heaven forbid you hit one by accident or it caused damage to your car, is the council at fault for not creating signs? Now, apparently no signs warning of deer on the back of Errigal Road. I was sure I'd spotted them in the past, but listen, I take your views. A caller asks, is there a day return bus going to the ploughing championships for anyone in the county or from anywhere in the county? Let us know. If there's a bus running with spare seats, there's people want to get on it, it's a good idea, up and down from the ploughing championships in a day. Let us know. We'll be happy to pass that on to that listener. Fair play to Enoch Burke, says the listener. I support him 100%. The price of fuel is going up all the time, says a caller. It's getting hard to heat my home. The government doesn't seem to do anything to help anyone. Just wondering, why is the price of fuel going up? Well, there's a couple of things. It's international markets. It seemed to be creeping up as the summer ends. I'm kicking myself, really am, that I didn't order oil when it was cheaper during the summer. And I make the same mistake every year because it is cheaper in the summer because less oil is used. But then just as we're wondering, do we need to start sticking the heating on for a bit? And I'm sure some of you had to heat the house all summer. I'm not ignoring that fact. Instead of it being $4.90 for 500 litres, it's $5.80 or $6 or something along those lines. But anyway... it is a worry. It is a worry heading into winter, no doubt. Why is it going up? We'll try and get some proper information for you on that. All right, stay tuned. Here are the bingo numbers. Back with Community Garda information shortly after.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 29th of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 35. The numbers are 17, 89, 74, 66, 65, 53, 27, 9, 73, and finally 84. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. And we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New this week at Home Store and More. All painting and DIY accessories are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price painting and DIY accessories are gone, they're gone. Also, all home office desks and chairs are still all half price. But when all the half price home office desks and chairs are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Donegal County Council has prepared a proposed material alterations to the draft Letterkenny Plan and Local Transport Plan 2023 to 2029 for public inspection. Public consultation runs from Friday 11th of August to Friday 8th of September 2023. For details, see consult.donegal.ie.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 912625.
Okay, 10:15, Tuesday, the 29th of August, 2023. It's time for this week's edition of Community Garda Information. In studio with me, Garda Sean Sweeney from the Buncrana Garda Station. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, great.
How are you getting on?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Brilliant. Good to have you in. Okay, we'll get straight into it. A couple of appeals here. We'll start off with theft from a motor car.
Yeah, Garda and Burton Port are investigating a theft from a motor car. It's occurred around 12:30 a.m. on Friday, the 25th of August. So this vehicle was parked in the driveway of the residence of the Ankyle estate in Burton Port and is believed to be unlocked and no damage was caused to it. But a handbag and a sum of cash was taken from inside the car. So our appeal is to any residents of the estate or the surrounding area who may have observed any suspicious activity or persons or may have CCTV footage at their home to contact Garda at Milford Garda Station on 07491 53060 or on the Garda confidential line on 1800 666 111.
And not in any way to attribute blame to the victim of this crime, but a reminder for us to make sure our vehicles are locked. They're not just because they're outside the property. This can still be targeted and to not have anything of value in them or on show.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Criminal damage being investigated by your colleagues in Buncrana.
That's right. Yeah, Garda and Buncrana are seeking information in relation to a criminal damage incident at the Millfield Grove estate, which occurred on the 27th of August. Well, that's last Saturday night, Sunday morning. So a white Citroen Berlingo van was parked outside the owner's residence and they woke to find that the driver's side window was smashed. A golf club was found lying next to the van. No entries gained to the van and nothing was stolen. But we're appealing for any witnesses who may have observed anybody acting suspiciously in the area on these dates, especially any taxis that were operating on the Saturday night who may have dashcam footage, to contact Garda Buncrana on 07493 20540.
Now, we learned last week, unfortunately, people still are falling victim to fraud scams. And just a reminder of the latest ones that are going around.
Yeah, these are some that have come to our attention here recently, which are either new or doing the rounds again. So the first is an email purporting to be from the DPP's office and has attachment with the Irish flag, Europol and EU logos. The email attachment is in the form of a letter, so it's accusing you of visiting sites in relation to child exploitation and that you're going to be prosecuted for child pornography, cyber pornography, sex trafficking and viewing photos and videos of sexual nature. The letter states you have 72 hours to respond with your version of the facts, accompanied by an identity document to fix your level of responsibility, which could avoid criminal prosecution. So one of the emails that they ask you to respond to is Garda protection of minors at Ministry of Justice uk.eu, which would never be a Garda.
No, but unfortunately, for most people on the address bar, you probably just see Garda Síochána protection of minors.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll let people know Garda Síochána in the DPP's office will never send a letter like this to you via email or the post. So we ask you never send a copy of any identity document to an unknown email that contacts you out of the blue. Use official sites or emails for any communication, and only then if you've typed in the address as opposed to clicking on a link. If you have any doubts, please ring your local station and ask for advice.
Yeah, and you can see how people can begin to get caught in this, because the first thing you want to do is say, well, I've done nothing like that there. Here's a picture of my driver's licence and make it go away. But of course, at that point then,
yes,
they have you.
They have you. They have your identity. And then.
Okay. eFlow.
Yeah, so it's another scam that's prominent right now. So this is an eFlow submission text. So a submission scam, which is they use text messages to try and obtain your personal details. So in this scam, you receive the text that states you've outstanding charges from eFlow, which must be paid immediately to avoid prosecution. This text will contain a link, which when clicked will take you to a page which looks exactly like the eFlow web page, and you're asked to enter your card details. The scammer will then make charges to your card and bank account. So again, never click on any link in a text. If you believe you have a charge, then navigate to the eFlow website by inputting the proper link into a search engine.
Yeah, okay, good advice. Already noticing in the mornings, the tractors almost have given way to buses and what have you. And we're all either those of us on the road commuting to and from work or wherever we might be going, but also parents and guardians starting to drop kids off or leave them at buses and all that kind of stuff. It's all new for us again because we've had 3 months in some cases of not having that type of traffic on the road. So a word of advice for motorists and pedestrians and parents and children as schools reopen.
Yeah, exactly, Greg. So this week, after the summer break, we're asking drivers to please be mindful of the fact that schools are reopen. So when travelling, to slow down in areas where bus collection and drop-offs are occurring and in the general area of the schools themselves. Expect the unexpected and be prepared to stop suddenly and leave additional travel time with the extra traffic on the roads. So we ask people, please don't park in a legal manner while doing school runs. Don't block driveways or park on footpaths, as this may restrict emergency access or force others to venture out onto the road, which could be very dangerous. We'd ask the parents to speak to their children about safety on the road, and there's some very helpful resources available at www.rsa.ie to assist with us.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we all have to share this space, and for some, be it parents and guardians or their children, it's probably the first time they're going through this experience. Everyone's up to high dough, and people can make mistakes stepping out in front of a bus or behind it. You know what I mean? It's just we need to make sure that we get through all this safely while we all find our feet. Okay. Brilliant stuff, as always. Garda Sean Sweeney, thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Rick.
That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 29th of August, and it'll be available for you to watch back on our webpage, on our Facebook page, and also on Garda Síochána Facebook page a little later on, and it's back live with you just after 10 next Tuesday.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for no obligation quotation on 913233.
The bakers are talking about their kids heading back to school, says old Mr. Brennan. They'll need the grades if they want to grow up to be bakers, just like their mums and dads, says I. I see, the circumference of the hole in the bagel, or calculating the hypotenuse of the perfect triangular toastie. Hypotenuse, says I, the mathematician's bread and butter. Brennan's, today's bread, today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €95 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Where's the party? Bundoran presents Ireland's biggest indoor dancing festival, the World Matchmaking Festival, in 4 venues for 10 days, 10 nights, September 29th to October 8th. Starring 35 bands, including the Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, David James, Declan Nerney, plus blind date and speed dating. Book now for accommodation and entertainment package deals. Log on to showtours.ie or call 0818 300 888. Meet your match in Bundoran. Very special guest from Lisdoon Varna, the world-famous matchmaker Willie Daly.
Right, Boys Travel and Mangan Tours are taking buses to the Ploughing Championship, and also the Men's Shed Group in Carndonagh are running a bus to the Ploughing Championship. So that's for our caller who contacted a little earlier on, wondering were any buses going up and down. So search out those names. You can get those. You can get those details. Right, so yesterday we were talking to Kelly McGrory. Kelly McGrory from South Donegal, Lahey, in fact, of course, was one of the 4 women that finished 8th in the world at the World Athletics Championship. But we were speaking to her at the airport, if I'm not mistaken, and she was talking about back to work today, back to normality and celebrations later in the weekend, but things didn't quite go to plan. Teresa McDade is operations team manager at Athletics Ireland. Hi, Teresa.
Good morning.
You're still in Zurich.
Yes, we're now in Zurich, waiting to board an Aer Lingus flight to Dublin, which has been delayed due to a little service issue, but we're hopeful that we'll still get away relatively shortly. So, yeah, we've been around the houses, but very glad to be at least seeing another way home, and hopefully we'll be there by lunchtime or shortly after today.
Yeah, indeed. Yesterday, though, obviously everyone full of the joys of spring got to the airport, even got on the plane. What went wrong then?
Yeah, well, we were on and to be fair, Budapest airport was pretty chaotic yesterday because obviously all teams were going out, and particularly the flight to Dublin was extremely busy because we have the most amazing fans that came from the whole of the country to support the team. So we were on the flight for, I think, close to possibly on the aircraft for about maybe 3.5 hours to 4 hours, and just getting updates really every maybe 20, 30 minutes sort of thing. But we had, and again, from I suppose from a logistical point of view, from the Team Ireland and the athletes and coaches, we had multiple routes. We had people that were on British Airways flights back to London. We had people on an Aer Lingus flight back to Dublin. We had people going to different parts. So we were kind of we were getting news maybe before, we were getting news from other people almost before the airline was given to us. But in fairness, spirits were very high. Everybody was in good form. The plane was full of athletic people. So I think everybody were just enjoying discussing the championships, and to be fine, the time went in very well. So unfortunately, then Ryanair cancelled the flight, and we were basically, along with all the other travellers, basically stranded and said, find your own way home. So again, with athletes, you're always looking at performance, so you're keen to get them settled, get them fed, get them relaxed, and then leave the logistics to us sort of thing. So we brainstormed then and come up with a plan, and we had a very hasty exit out to Zurich last night and got a hotel and got everybody settled, and then we're back on the road again this morning and hopefully home.
Brilliant. And you guys were amongst the hundreds of thousands that were affected by a systems failure at Britain's National Air Traffic Service, which caused the cancellations of just under 100 flights into and out of Dublin Airport. More than 10 flights scheduled to take off and land in both Cork and Shannon also fell victim to the outage. So people's holidays, returning and heading out, and all were affected. They hope that situation is resolved, but there's going to be a hangover. It's going to take a couple of days for it to fully work through. Teresa, your reflections now that you've had an extra night in Zurich to do so about the about Ireland's performance in general at these World Championships.
And you know that I really think that's what kind of really helped us through the whole thing, because we had an absolutely amazing championships. And I feel like I've been away from home now since I think it was the 7th, maybe, because we did a camp first of all before going into championships. But my Lord, we've had the best championship we've ever had to date, the most successful. You know, and so close, my Lord almighty, to think that, you know, a country like Ireland were so close to 2 world medals. That's just unreal. And Irish records galore, Paris standards. Really, really delighted with the team, and yeah, so that certainly helped all of yesterday, without a doubt.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen overnight. These things happen very, very slowly and then very quickly. Everything had to be built up to get to this point. So it must be great from a planning perspective to see the athletes, you know, maturing and picking up good times. And it's really to the future now. You're looking to keep this momentum going for the next majors.
Yeah, and exactly. And we're 1 year out now from Paris, from the next Olympic Games, and to be in that sort of state now, to have people on the edge of a medal, and you're looking, well, the next step, and you know, we're very much keen that our athletes will make that step, and hopefully make that next step onto the podium in the next championship. And again, so many, and I am doing a little bit of work around Paris, and particularly on camp. And you know, it's just amazing to think that we're having so many people, and we're going to have standards are extremely high, higher than they've ever been before. But yet we're still having bigger teams and more athletes progressing. And so yeah, all credit to athletes and their coaches, and of course to the system that provides, and the support system that's provided to help them achieve what they want to do.
Yeah, success breeds success, and success is addictive, isn't it? And you could hear in Kelly's voice yesterday, yes, it's heading into off-season, but she's already going, right, I want this and more. And when you're talking about elite athletes, it's every point of a percentage. And as I say, that success and knowing what that feels like, that can be the extra 0.4 of a second or something, isn't it, that gets you on that podium.
Yeah. And that's success, I think, too. It's certainly, it's the confidence and the belief that they know, and particularly that 4x4 girls, you know, they were sort of, you know, it was nearly as if that, you know, they were going to be, they'll be grand, but all of a sudden they made a world final. And the fact, again, too, that they went out, Kelly and the girls all went out again and did it a second time. I just can't wait. They're all going to have massive PBs and the indoors and outdoors next year in their own individual events, because they'll just have that belief that actually, yeah, maybe I can really do this. And I don't know if a lot of people caught Ciara McGeehan, who's one of our heroes in athletics, did an amazing piece around, you know, she talks about, I'm just a young girl from Portaferry, and we're all just somebody from somewhere, but yet it's amazing what can be done and what can be achieved, and it's a great inspiration for everybody else, and certainly everybody coming behind those people.
Yeah, and I would love to see a slight change in how we cover these events in Irish media, because if you look at how the British and the Spanish and the French do it, they do it in a very different way, where we're almost like, the note here was like, we're devastated because we just missed out, or we just missed off at the podium, or, you know, like not celebrating as, well, it was not too bad, the 8th finish in the world. We're a tiny little country finishing 8th in the entire whole world. I think people, when they interview the athletes, they're almost like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. But we need to actually put everything into context and celebrate what we are achieving here. You know, no one's dead. Like, this is all brilliant stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing. We've got to believe we now belong here. And we've really had, you know, even our mixed 4x4, this is their 4th global final. You know, we're now in the mix. Other countries are looking at what Ireland are doing, and I think that's absolutely, we need to believe that, and that will come away even at 6th place for the mixed relay. Like, that's another step on again from last time, and yeah, so I think, as you say, we are a very small country, but we're very good at punching above our weight.
Yeah, and it takes a whole team effort, be it, I presume Eamon Harvey had some role in Kelly's development, given what he's given to athletics over the years, or Patsy McGonagall's, the likes of you, Teresa, and others, you know, that harness and support and bring this talent through. It's not just the athletes as well, it's the support structure and people like yourself. Thank you so much for your time. Safe journey home, albeit a day late, Teresa.
No.
Take care of
Thank you very
yourself.
much.
All right. That's Teresa McDade, Operations Team Manager at Athletics Ireland. 086 60 25 000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25 000. Okay, is this Marty joining me? Is it Marty or Matty? Good morning.
It's Marty. Good morning,
I beg your
Greg.
pardon. It's joined up writing and I'm not really good at it. Okay, right. What was your experience recently? On Thursday, I believe it was.
Yeah, on Thursday, the 24th of August, myself and my husband and my two children, I have a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old, went to Letterkenny Town Park. We go to the park a lot. We normally go to the play area there, but this Thursday we had taken our scooter and the 3-year-old was really excited to try the new skate park. So we went to the skate park. The skate park is sort of down the back on the left-hand side for anybody who's not aware. And we were there. When we arrived, there was a few people about. There was a woman there that we knew quite well with her 3 children, another few adults, another couple of adults, and another few children. So there was a small enough group there, but there was people there. So our 3-year-old was happy out then, getting to grips with skating about the skate park. And we were just busy sort of watching her, chatting to the lady we knew. We weren't really, we were just kind of chilling out, I suppose. And then after a while, it got a bit quieter. It was quite showery that day, but it got a bit quieter, and we both noticed, myself and my husband, this man come in the main entrance of the skate park, and he went out towards the United Nations sort of Memorial Garden then. He stood out to both of us. We didn't say anything at the time, but we just sort of, I edged closer to my 3-month-old in the pram, and my husband edged closer to my 3-year-old.
Wow, yeah, so instinct kicked in there.
It was just kind of an instinct thing. Yeah, we just kind of knew. He looked a wee bit unkempt. We'll not get into specifics about that, but we both kind of thought he looked a bit, we never even said anything to one another, but just naturally we did this. So then we were there for another wee while. About 10 minutes later then, it was just us left in the play park. So again, my husband, me, and my 2 kids. And I said to my husband kind of quietly, I didn't want to draw attention to it with a 3-year-old. I wanted a bit of peace probably. I said, I'm going up for a wee walk. So I said it really quietly because I didn't want my 3-year-old to hear. I was hoping to just veer off and have a little bit of peace and leave her when she was happy out. So that's what I did. So I was very quietly talking to him and saying this, so nobody else would have heard it. I was being really discreet so she wouldn't hear. And then literally I just veered off with the pram and towards the United Nations Memorial Garden. And that's when this man sort of jumped to the height of himself, and he started to adjust the front of his trousers, and he scarpered pretty quick. He literally, he couldn't have walked fast enough. And it was the man that we had seen about 10 minutes earlier that we had both noticed. And I know exactly what he was doing. There was no reason for him to be there other than he was pleasuring himself, I suppose, for want of a better way to describe it.
Was he watching?
Yes, he would have been watching. Yeah, he would have been watching them. He was just kind of standing behind the wall. There was no reason for this man to be there. You might say, I did see him. That wouldn't be the right thing to do.
If
he came in, no. If he came in, there is toilets at the start of the Letterkenny Town Park for everybody who knows it. But then the other thing is, Greg, if he was actually using the bathroom where he was, if he wanted, he could have went anywhere else around there, and he would have been so discreet. This wasn't using the bathroom. This was giving him access to the skate park.
Yeah, I'll get you. Okay,
he wasn't expecting me to leave the skate park that suddenly, so I literally caught him, Definitely not. He wasn't urinating because, as I said, there was a lot of better places where he could have done that. Close to where he actually was.
Yeah, and it's funny how the red flags went up a little earlier. The instincts kick in there.
Yeah.
You reported it to the Garda. You see, before we get to that, I mean, you were there, both adults were there. That's not always going to be the case, obviously. For older children, it might seem like a safe place. It's very, very creepy. It's very worrying, isn't it? Because one thing we've learned with people who would do this type of thing is it can escalate as well. Or, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily just a once-off. So it is it's pretty worrying, Matty.
Yeah, I turned obviously and went straight back to my husband right away, and we're literally talking just feet away from my husband still. It's very close. It's very close, this area. And I said, oh my God, I've just seen this. And I started to tell him, and 2 young girls came round then, and I said, oh my God, where's their parents? But literally just a second later, the mother of these 2 girls came round, and it's a lady we actually knew. So we started to tell her, but Robert went looking for the man, you know, he just wanted to see what the crack was, and the man was long gone. We're talking still seconds. This man knew the park well, I would say, to be gone so quickly.
And I know... I'm not trying to amplify this. I'm just putting myself in this position. Yeah. It's violating that. There's children there. If he was doing what you strongly suspect he was doing, it's very, very concerning. It's very worrying, and it's dirty, and it feels dirty. In other words, he was watching on. Innocent little people,
he
right?
was watching on. And we had
really
noticed him. Yeah, he was definitely there. You know, there was no reason for him to be there. It was about 10 minutes earlier when we had both noticed him walk past. Yeah. So he shouldn't have been there. You know, his natural walking would have took him a good bit away from where he actually was at that stage. There was no reason for him to be there at all, and he wasn't urinating because he could have urinated somewhere else a lot more discreetly. I just knew right away, and I knew by kind of his face what he was doing as well. You know, I just kind of knew right away what I had caught.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate you being really careful with the language, but it's obvious from the various things you've said, you knew exactly what was going on. You contact the Garda station. At this point, the person's left the scene. Did you feel heard?
Yeah.
Did they take it?
Do you know, I did. I rang Letterkenny Garda station direct, and I was speaking to a man on the other side of the phone, and I told him what happened, and I knew he knew what I was telling him, and he believed me. And he said he was going to send a patrol car down, but I was pretty honest with him and said, you know, I don't think there's any point. This man's gone. You know, he's gone. There's no way he's hanging around the park now for them to come around the patrol car. He knew he was caught. And it's not really about, you know, seeing him on CCTV or anything like that. It would be better if there was more CCTV, that you could catch things like that more easily. But it's more about, I just wanted to let people know that this happened and draw attention to it and just make people aware. You know, you need to keep a really, really close eye on your kids, because I had my eyes opened. You don't know who else is keeping an eye on your kids.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And it's not that long ago, actually, last week or the week before, in West Donegal, there was someone, a man, at the same crack on a beach.
Yes, I know what you're talking about there too, actually, it's definitely, you know, and a couple of people have been in touch with me on private message, and they've kind of said similar things to me, you know, and a couple of people have asked for a description, and I don't feel that I should give a description of this person, because my description, there was slight things that made him look a bit unkempt, but really it would be very generic, and I don't want some poor man be walking around the park and people looking at him going, oh, I wonder if that's the man that the lady was talking about in the radio. Yeah. But it's really more just to tell parents or any guardians or anybody out in the park with small children to keep a really close eye on them, because I think I could be even a bit complacent sometimes in certain places where I take my daughter. I'm so used to it that maybe I'm too busy talking to my friends that I think, oh, she's just there. She knows this place. She knows this place, but so do some other people who are a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
And it really is just to keep a closer eye
all the time. And then we have to be really careful too, don't we? That we don't want to overcrowd them either and inhibit their sense of adventure and stuff. It's striking the right balance. It's the complication of parenthood, isn't it? You don't want them to be afraid of every stranger, but you want to tool them up and equip them so they are as safe as possible, and that's the tough line as parents we have to walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And the other thing I just do want to point out is, you know, with the price of everything at the moment, I don't want to put anybody off Letterkenny Town Park. It's so well maintained. It's really well looked after. The skate park's a fabulous new addition. My 3-year-old isn't aware of this incident at all, so she just wants to go back with her scooter, and she will be back there. So I don't want to put anybody off there, because it could have happened anywhere. But that is the thing, that I got my eyes opened, and this happens. You know, I did catch this man doing this, so we just need to be so careful.
Right, and I think you've been really, really balanced and careful in how you've put the info out there as well. So fair play to you, because it could have gone another way. But I think it's really constructive advice. And I think if anyone spots anything, obviously you can't report everyone that looks a bit suspicious, but to keep your eyes peeled and get the phone out straight away and call the Gardaí if you see anything. All right, thanks so much for your time. And as I say, it's not pleasant. It's very unpleasant, and we appreciate you helping us get the information out there. Okay, that is Massey there. 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Greg, a point of interest, the highest energy prices of all EU countries is Ireland, and the lowest OAP pension in almost all EU countries is Ireland. That's coming in from Mary there. John Joe Boyce at Boyce Tours runs buses to the championships and all other events. Brilliant service. All right, great to hear. Hi, Greg. Ye, the media, are all over how inappropriate the kiss was. Maybe you should look at the control of the books they're pushing in 4-year-olds of age and upwards, with you aren't as concerned about the children. What a ridiculous thing to come out with. Well, here's the thing. I've actually gone through the new curriculum from start to end, from baby infants to 6th class, and I wonder, have you? And if you have, hands up, I'll say, all right, fair play, that's your interpretation of it. But I've actually gone through it all. What's being taught, at what age, how it's being taught, what images are being used, what language is being used. I've gone through it all. And we're going to be talking about that a little later on. But we're very close here to the typical comment that if you're not constantly always talking about this, that in some way you're a groomer or a pedo. That's kind of... I'm not saying that's what the text is saying, but it's not a million miles away either. I don't know what that achieves. I think it's crazy. But anyway, thanks for your text. Finally, before the break here, hi Greg, Paul and Jimmy said to text you who stole the piece of cake. Well, I don't know. I think there's something going on social media about this. I didn't quite see it. I am innocent. I've got no hand, act or part in Cakegate. And I came in here this morning and there wasn't a crumb of cake. And the only boys I see stuffing cake and sweets into them are Jimmy and Paul. So I think it's a bit of deflection going on here. I think they've done it themselves. But as I say, I'm not fully across Cakegate. But all I know is I'm completely innocent. 086 60 25,000 if you can get to the bottom of that.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Donegal Cheviot and Cheviot Cross Breeders Group will hold their annual sale of Cheviots, Cheviot Mules, Suffolk Cross Cheviots and Cheviot Cross Blackface Hogged Ewes and Ewe Lambs on Friday the 1st of September at Stranorlar Mart. Sale is at 6 p.m. The sales will also be online on the Mart I app. This ad is kindly sponsored by Lynch Brothers Northwest Plant Hire Limited, Buncrana.
Is your car in need of a service? At iMotors, with our state-of-the-art workshop facilities, we offer servicing, timing belts, tyres and wheel alignment. Split your service bill over 4 payments with our bumper payment facility. Visit imotors.ie to book in or call us today.
Have you heard about the McElhinney's M Card? Now available exclusively in store. Sign up today to start earning and redeem once you hit £500. Register in store at our M Card station on the first floor or at any till point. The M Card, the new way to save at McElhinney's.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. We're joined by a couple of guests now. They are, where are we here? They are Aidan Friel, co-owner of Narrow Quarter at Kerry Keel. He's in studio with us. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for calling up.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me.
And also on the programme is Paul Diver, chair of the Donegal Irish Hotels Federation branch. How are you getting on, Paul?
Morning, Greg. Morning, Aidan.
It's great to have you with us. Okay, right. It seems now that... it's inevitable that the VAT rate is going to increase from 9% to 13.5%. Now, I don't want to cause any disagreement between you guys, but I'm going to ask the obvious question first. Aidan, are you happy to be talking about this with hotels? Because there are calls from the Restaurant Association that this needs to be decoupled a little bit, because there are some maybe issues with some hotels and maybe they're getting wrapped for price gouging or whatever it might be. And then we have restaurants which are competing in a very tough market. They can't gouge because if they do, they're out of business. But they're being lumped in with hairdressers and hotels. Yeah. I mean, as I say, I'm not trying to cause any disagreement, but are you of the mind that maybe there should be two separate conversations?
Well, I think there needs to be a really robust discussion about VAT in general within the entire industry. I've spoke to a lot of hoteliers in the last few weeks, and the general consensus seems to be that everyone is quite happy to have an open discussion about possibly dividing the VAT rates into accommodation and food.
Okay, Paul, I'm not sure what the listeners think. They'll let us know, but hotels at the moment in this country haven't got a fantastic rep in terms of, as I say, prices going up when big events are on. maybe some of them just opting to house refugees and the impact that can have on surrounding businesses. Wonder what level of public sympathy there is for hotels in their battle to retain the 9%.
Yeah, I think there's nearly two different industries, Greg. Hotels in cities can charge whatever they want. They have the demand. Hotels in rural Ireland, and the majority of them are all family owned, and they certainly can't go increasing prices like that. They just simply wouldn't get away with it. So I think yes, the conversation has to be had, maybe about city versus rural Ireland, and also I think it's a given at this stage that the VAT rate is going to go up on the accommodation. I'd still be hopeful, that the government might listen to us and might take heed of the amount of job losses that there'll be if they put the VAT back up on food as well.
There are great challenges already. For some, it hasn't been the best tourism season. For others, they might have to close to cut costs or because of staff. I mean, what's your overview of the Donegal hotel industry through the summer and coming out of it of 2023?
It wasn't a great summer. We all know what the weather was like, but there are a lot of positives. The Wide Atlantic Way is still doing it's bringing a lot of domestic visitors to Donegal, and that's working very well. Every business in the county has the same challenges. Here in the Sandhouse, our electricity bill is 3 times what it was 3 years ago, and that's just not sustainable. Speaking just to hotels over the last couple of weeks, and restaurants indeed, and pubs, and a lot of them are certainly going to close Mondays and Tuesdays. A lot of them are going to reduce the food offerings that they're going to do. For us here in the Sandhouse, if the VAT rate goes back up on food, we'll probably have to stop doing Sunday lunch because we're just not able to offer value for money with what we'll have to charge. But at the end of the day, it's the consumer that's going to charge because businesses just can't afford to cushion any more of these costs. It's going to have to be passed on to the consumer. That's making us, a very, very expensive industry. I suppose the one thing here in Donegal is we've always got credit for value for money, and that's right across restaurants, pubs, hotels, every single thing. And that's very hard to get. And once you have a name for that, we don't want to lose it. So that's why a lot of hotels, as I say, they're family owned. They've tried to absorb as much of the costs as they can to try and keep that value for money tag here in Donegal.
Aidan, from your perspective, I've talked on this programme over the years about tipping points, and I think all of us in our head, I have a sort of price in my head that lunch, right? And then I have a price in my head for main course and either a starter or a dessert, or even, if it's my birthday, all 3. We're getting to the point now where it's like one local place that I would say you can see there's a 50% increase across the board just for sort of like a bacon sandwich or a breakfast or that type of stuff. What has the last 5 years in business been like for you guys at the Narrow Quarter? Because, of course, in the middle of all that was COVID.
Yeah. Well, I think just even touched on your first point that there is a maximum limit to what people are willing to pay and what you can charge. Just from eating out myself, I'm starting to feel that we're nearly at that point. So to put an extra 5% on top of that is really, really going to hamper people's ability to eat out, and it really will change their decisions.
Yeah, and it's how often they eat out as well.
And their spending habits,
and people's patterns change, don't they?
Absolutely. Your second point then about COVID and everything, we had 5 years of business and we had COVID in between it, and we've actually already experienced a 13.5% VAT in 2019 when it was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to keep ourselves, obviously, because we were a new business, as competitive as possible. And for the first 2 month period, we tried to soak up as much of that increase as we could. And we very quickly realised that we were going to run out of just cash flow, was going to disappear. So from our perspective, it just can't be soaked up. It's going to have to be passed on to our customers, which is really, really unfortunate.
But that's a catch-22 because then will the customers come through the door?
This is the problem you see we're faced with. But there is not enough disposable income in people's pockets to actually come through the door if this is put on top of them. And by the sounds of the local politicians and the TDs, it is going ahead, and there's going to be no turnaround on it because I spoke to a few of them.
Yeah. So in terms of the increased costs, I would say if you look at your bills in 2019, be it the materials that you create your beautiful food with, particularly power, maybe to some extent wage costs or what have you. I mean, I would say if you held those two up and looked at one and the other, you'd look at today's one and wonder, well, how actually am I still in business?
Yeah.
Because there's been so much of an increase.
Some of it's 3- and 4-fold. I think electricity was up something like 68%. Gas is up, heating oil is up, everything increases, and as you say, then just the raw ingredients to actually produce dishes and food. Even your listeners or anyone that's not in business will have definitely felt it from a domestic point of view as well.
Of course, you multiply the extra 30 quid at the till and then do that on a commercial basis, you know.
So it's an industry where margins are already really tight, and now the state's going to even make it tighter.
Yeah, and also too, there's going to be staffing issues because we are at full employment in this country at the moment. So whilst dealing with that, it's getting the staff to actually being able to open the doors as well.
Of course. And we were nearly faced in a position there just in the last few weeks where we were going to have to maybe contemplate closing down for a day or reducing hours because we were losing some staff for the summer season. And it's really, really hard to actually get workers at the moment.
Yeah, it must be very frustrating, in particularly in the restaurant sector.
There's a lot of issues going on in the background. And listen, it's not just the VAT, but I suppose that's the one that's just outstanding to the forefront of our minds at the moment.
But it must feel like an extra levy through very, very difficult times already. Yeah. I mean, Pauw, do you think hotels, because I suppose of course hotels have to compete with restaurants and vice versa, do you think it would be palatable for the VAT increase on the accommodation if the food was left alone?
We'd certainly take that at this stage. You know, as I say, I think it's a given that the accommodation is going to go up, and you know, you can't really question some of the politicians. You know, especially in some of the hotels in Dublin. You know, there was a small number of investor-owned hotels, and they don't care about prices. You know, they're not meeting the customer. You know, they're not dealing face to face. You know, so. Yes, definitely we would take the hit on the accommodation if the food was to be left alone. But it's, you know, it is a very, very worrying time. You know, traditionally here in Donegal, we would build up enough cash flow in July, August and September to get you through the winter. With the costs, hotels and restaurants and business just haven't had that. You know, they haven't been able to build up the cash reserve this year. So it's going to be a very, very difficult winter ahead. And, you know, I would just appeal to the government at even at this late stage, even just, you know, hold the VAT rate on the food, because it's going to have a detrimental effect on employment.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating though, Pauw, in that, you know, we have representatives from rural Ireland, you know, living and working in the Dáil in Dublin, that they don't go, you know, this is unfair because, you know, the people I represent in the Northwest, this is what they're offering, this is how they do their business, they should not be punished because there's people having room cancelled because a concert comes on in Dublin and then that room re-advertised. It's crazy. Those people should be punished. You don't punish the people that do well in any business because that rewards those who don't do well. Do you know what I mean? And that can be in a company of 5 people. You do not reward the people that are bad because it breaks the heart of those that are trying to operate fairly. But why can't they look at a solution that, like even a levy that says, right, Dublin hotels or wherever you are, enough is enough. You don't punish a hotel struggling in Donegal.
Yeah, but unfortunately that's the way it's been for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. You know, there's 2 different tourism economies. The one in all of the cities is booming. Rural Ireland, you know, we're employing people in every corner of the county, but we're not getting recognised for that. As Aidan said, it's a very low margin industry, very high labour costs. But certainly it is unfair when you look at the demand there is in Dublin and Limerick and Galway. Certainly that demand isn't here in rural Ireland.
No.
Back in 2022, I think, just post-COVID, a lot of elected representatives actually stood up and tarred us all with the one brush. That the entire
there's no nuance in the conversation. Like, I don't hear any, or maybe I haven't heard it, but people really advocating on your behalf. I mean, the Restaurant Association of Ireland tweet a lot and they're on News Talk now and again, but I'm not really...
There hasn't been a real robust discussion about it.
No, there hasn't.
But as I was saying, there was elected representatives that stood up and tarred the entire hospitality industry with the one brush, that we were all price gouging, which was actually really unfair. Nobody's stood up yet and accused the electricity companies of price gouging. Their VAT rate was also reduced back down to 9%, and they never passed any of the savings on to the customers, and they're turning billions of euros of profit. Whereas we were left in a position where the VAT rate was reduced, but because everything else had risen so rapidly around you, electricity, wages, food costs, you couldn't physically pass it on. So I don't know what's going to happen now whenever they further increase it.
It's hard to see the logic in all of this because, maybe they will get their tax take back up, Paul, and if a few rural hotels and restaurants have to close, so be it.
So be it. That seems to be the attitude, yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be the attitude, which is grossly unfair. And as I say, the tourism industry in Donegal is one of the most important industries here in Donegal. And, it's not just the towns like Letterkenny or Donegal town. There's people employed in the tourism industry in every corner, from Ironmore Island to Malin to Slieve League. It really spreads abound right along the whole country, or the whole county. And, a lot of people that work in the tourism industry are at college. They're coming home at weekends to get a few hours work, and that's their pocket money then for the week in college. And that's going to be affected as well, because hotels and restaurants, if they cut back, that's less hours for staff as well.
Yeah, and Aidan, what happens too though is it spreads, because if the people that are squeezed stop going out to eat, even those then who have money don't go out to eat because they don't want to sit in an empty restaurant. And so what happens then is people with money, and we saw this in the recession, there was plenty of people, as tough as things were, could go out and spend money, but they didn't, because they get cautious, they hold on to it, and there's no one else out.
Well, it absolutely is a severe knock-on effect.
All right, I just wish someone would listen to us, and I wish common sense would prevail, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem to at times, and we're heading towards we're in a fait accompli situation. Paul, for now, thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate your time. All right, Paul Differ there, who is chair of the Donegal Irish Hotels Federation branch. And Aidan, listen, I hope, as I say, even if it's a decoupling situation where it's recognised that yours is a different operating model, because I know towns where restaurants are trying to compete with hotel restaurants, and they can sort of lose on the swings and gain on the roundabouts. So, as I say, I'm not trying to pitch you against Paul, but restaurants have a particularly difficult time in certain areas as well. But for now, I hope everything continues well for you, Aidan, and some sense is seen, and you continue to keep doing what you're doing at the Narrow Quarter in Kerrykiel.
Yep, that's us.
All right, okay, great stuff. Back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Green Shoes Big Summer Sale is both in-store and online. Now with up to 50% off men's, women's and children's footwear. Get great savings in the biggest names in footwear, including Riker, Skechers and Tamaris. Also Echo, Heavenly Feet, Una Healy and many more. Shoes, boots, sandals and trainers. Bag a bargain today at Green Shoes Big Summer Sale. In-store in Letterkenny and Pulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
Tá mudna in ESB Networks ag gobar lena chintu go bhfuil síl glán letrach in ándún go léir in éidean. Agus mar chud san chlór náisiúnta an méadrú cliste, tá méadid cliste letrachis á sitsálinis agan i de cheantar. A bhuichastó is beag billa measta a dheofatú. Cáir se leat súla chuineal ar an méad letrachis a úsáidin tú ar bhealach níos fearr, agus ba fáil agad ar thorgaí agus seirbhísí cliste. Déanam it sangó leat rih hitsal de véidir. Tá tilla ólis le fáil ag esbnetworks.ie/smart meter.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie. With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock, time to get a news update, and it's good morning again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Garda and emergency services are currently attending the scene of a road traffic collision at Carrarea Bridge End, just off the Derry-Letterkenny Road. The road is currently closed with local diversions in place. Garda say no further information is available at this time. A woman's been charged in connection with the discovery of a body off Slieve League in Donegal. The remains of a man in his 60s were found at the Sea Cliffs after an alleged assault between June 24th and 25th. It follows a series of searches around Slieve League and in the vicinity of Killybegs. Gardaí say a woman in her 20s who was arrested yesterday will appear before a special sitting of Letterkenny District Court this morning. A man in his 30s was charged last month. One of Letterkenny's busiest stretches of road will close for the next 4 nights to facilitate road resurfacing. The 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. closures are being implemented on the Remelton Road between Station Roundabout and Oatfield Roundabout from tonight until Friday night. The bus stop on Remelton Road will move temporarily to the front of Glenealy House on Port Road during the closures. Garda in West Donegal are appealing for information about a theft from a car in Burton Port in the early hours of last Friday. At around midnight, a handbag with cash inside was taken from the car. It was parked in the driveway of a home in the Onquilla estate. It seems the car was unlocked. Garda in Buncrana, meanwhile, are seeking information about a criminal damage incident in which a white Citroen Berlingo van had its window broken outside a house on Saturday night or Sunday morning. And the Irish Farmers Association says a tweet from the EPA that caused huge rage among farmers needs to be discussed. The social media post urged people to reduce their consumption of red meat and instead eat veg to be healthier, wealthier and more fabulous. It was later deleted after the IFA asked them to remove it. The two organisations are now to have a meeting to discuss the tweet and who authorised it. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
OK, Donald, thank you very much for that.
What can you bag at Maxall? Well, there's fuel, of course. Rows of coffee, crisps, bars, brekkie rolls, chicken fillet rolls, bread, cornflakes, Rice Krispies, oats, milk, apples, oranges, bananas, ham, cheese, kids' lunches, pasta, rice, chopped tomatoes, spaghetti hoops, beans, tuna, pizza, rasher, sausages, mayonnaise, Ben & Jerry's, goodies, firelogs, cozy night in, tea bags, orange juice, cookies, biscuits, toothpaste, toilet roll, bin bags, cake, card, mum's birthday, chewing gum, jam, soup, shampoo, still water, sparkling water. See? You'll find bags more at Maxall. Oh, and dog food.
OK, welcome back to some of your comments now. There are cameras on the main walk into the park in Letterkenny. Perhaps that man could be spotted on that by the guards. Hi, Greg. It's interesting to hear, Marty. We witnessed a man jump out of the hedge fitting the description, but we couldn't decide if he needed the loo or was caught short or he was doing a rude act while watching the children play. It really puts me off going to the park with the kids. We head towards the beach now. A caller says we had a similar experience. The guy was just standing, I beg your pardon. He was just standing in the United Nations guarding, fixing himself. We thought he was off, so we turned all the kids and walked in the other direction away from him. Another time, my husband caught a man taking pictures of the children and had to call the Gardaí on him as he was in the park without any children of his own. OK, which is worrying. We're having a few reports that seem to confirm Marty's experience. Right, okay, let's say good morning now to the leader of the Aontú Party, Deputy Peadar Tóibín. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you doing?
It's good to have you on the show. And we're talking ahead of a public meeting taking place tonight at 8 p.m. It's in the Mount Ergal Hotel. You'll be addressing concerns parents have on the new curriculum on social, personal and health education and the relationship and sexuality education. So what are your concerns about it?
Yeah, so this is a series of meetings that we're doing across the country at the moment. And much of the content of the SPHE curriculum is positive and it's good and it's helpful for children. But the government, unfortunately, have, let's say, crowbarred a lot of ideology in relation to gender into the particular curriculum. So obviously, we as a party want to see every citizen treated equally in this country, no matter who they are, what orientation that they have, whatever their identity is. And we also believe that there needs to be compassion for children and grown-ups as well who suffer from gender dysphoria, maybe who feel that their gender is unaligned to their physical gender. But we're a political party of pluralism. We're a Republican party that recognises that there are plural value systems in Ireland. And this is really important. So, everybody listening to your show, not everybody thinks the same way. People have different beliefs and values. And we believe the education system should be plural as well, so that a parent should be able to choose a school with their own ethos, with their own value system.
So before we get into that, Peadar, so in the curriculum, I'm sure you've went all the way through it like I have, from baby infants to 6th class in terms of national school. You've gone through the curriculum and the notes for teachers and parents. I presume you have, obviously.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right, okay. So what is it in it that concerns you? And let's, is it talking about a person who's got two parents who are of the same gender? Or is it about the transgenderism, a gender identity? So, like, what is your actual concern that you say, hold on a second, should we be teaching this to primary school children?
The first concern is that we have is that the government is not allowing for plural ethos anymore. They're saying there's one ethos, it is every school has to accept it, and it's mandatory. So that's our first difficulty. And that's
so what do you believe people should be able to opt out of? Is it talking about gays? Is it talking about trans people?
The major issue we have here is in terms of the gender ideology, the issues around transgender ideology. And for example, most polls have shown that most parents don't believe that 5th and 6th class kids are mature enough to be able to be taught issues around transgender.
Okay, so I'll read it for the listeners. It says this is in the 5th or 6th class. It says that we all have a gender identity. Gender identity is how we think of ourselves as a boy or a girl, neither or both. The feeling of who you are starts when we are little and becomes more obvious as we go through adolescence. When a baby is born, the new baby is initially identified as a boy. It has a penis, and as a girl, it has a vulva. That is what's called biological sex of the baby. Most people born with a penis feel and know that they are a boy, and most people born with a vulva feel and know they are a girl. These feelings, interests and beliefs all make up what is called your gender. Then it says, then it goes on to say, however, a small number of people may not feel that they are called at birth boy or girl really fits them and may want to explore their gender identity to find out what is right for them. If a person has a deep sense that their gender identity is different from gender they were given at birth, they may describe themselves as transgender. Then it goes on to say, if you've got questions about your gender identity, puberty can be a particularly confusing time. Your body may be changing in ways that don't match your sense of yourself. So that is what's being taught about gender identity to 5th and 6th class. Now, you believe that that's damaging or harmful, and by the way, I'm not taking an opposing position to you. I'm teasing out the convo. You're saying do you believe that goes too far?
Like most people, I believe that a woman is an adult female, okay? So like most people, I don't believe that gender is identified or assigned at birth. I believe that there is an actual gender. That's, I would believe that we should follow the scientific understanding of what gender and sex means. And so what the government is doing here very, very subtly in 5th and 6th class, it's actually, it's starting to dissolve that scientific understanding of what gender is, that gender and sex are aligned. And it's starting to say, well, actually, gender is not your sex. Gender is a felt experience, and it may be completely different than what it says is the recognized gender at birth. And then just to continue, because this is important, and then when we get into the secondary school, so we're talking about 12-year-olds who are starting secondary school very, very shortly, and the whole process then increases that understanding. The schools are actually advised now that teachers should introduce themselves by their pronouns on the first day that they have their class. So that's, Mrs. Smith is going to say, my name is Mrs. Smith and these are my pronouns. So it starts to kind of really put front and center in this whole SPHE class, the idea that gender and sex are not aligned. And they're different.
Lots of people will agree with you. And lots of people will think I'm wrong, but I'm trying to, as I say, have a conversation with you. Like me and you, I think we're kind of similar ages, right? Ish, maybe, I don't know, you could be older or younger, it doesn't matter. But be that as it may.
I'm 49.
I'm talking to you about, we're like two bald men fighting over a comb, right? But my children have friends who are non-binary, who are that they're born as boys and identify as girls, and they're all treated equally. They don't really care. Like, it's already happening. I mean, and that was started from 13 or 14 or 15. Now, I'm not going to make a commentary on what the people that they're friends with are or are not or whatever, but they already accept it. Like, we're afraid of language and concepts that young people, it's their life. They're very familiar with it. They follow the people on TikTok. They follow them on YouTube. People of all different backgrounds, right? So we're arguing, we can't let the children. They know it already.
But so just the point I'm trying to say is the education system is not advising children about the dangers around this issue. So, for example, within first class, already they're introduced to the idea of transitioning from one gender to another. Now, in transitioning, what we often have is children being assigned chemical puberty blockers, for example. Now, there is absolutely so little research done on the effects of chemical puberty blockers on young children at the moment. In Sweden and in Britain and in Finland, they're already starting to advise that puberty blockers are not given to children. Why? Because they have a significant negative effect on their bone density and also can lead to lifelong infertility. So the school is presenting transition as a very, very normal experience without actually discussing at all any of the chemical dangers that are presented by this. So the weird thing is that the Irish education system is traveling down a route which many other countries are actually traveling back from because they know that the dangers in relation to this. So, for example, as well, the school doesn't talk about the fact that there are, certain challenges to women's rights around the issue of transgender. So many women feel that they should have the rights to use bathrooms and changing rooms as safe spaces for women only. And many women feel as well they should be allowed to play sports for women only. And many people feel that male-born sex offenders shouldn't be put into female prisons.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. But just to some of your points,
no. Just going to.
But you can continue. No, you can continue. But just
I will pick you up on that.
Yeah, okay.
I will pick you up on that. It doesn't happen very often. Is not a good enough excuse.
Yeah.
Okay. Putting a male-born sex offender into a women's prison is an absolute disgrace.
Yes.
And it actually led in part. It led in part to the Prime Minister of Scotland having to resign. Yet is happening in Ireland at the moment. But and also Leo Varadkar is putting pressure on the Irish Rugby Union to allow male-born players compete in women's rugby, which, for people who are worried about the impact that would have physically on women, the damage that can do. So what I'm saying is the danger is that if you elevate ideology over science, it will always lead to danger. And you mentioned at the start of your intro that many people have different views about this. And we're fine with that. We're just saying that let parents choose the education value system that their kids have. If parents want to have a value system that allows for this, be my guest. I'm not arguing against that. All I'm saying is that for the majority of your listeners, don't force an education system that radically goes against their value system.
Can I just
ask? That's the danger we're in at the moment.
Can I ask a question? I mean, you don't mind me asking you questions, do you? And us having a conversation, because every time I'm interviewing someone from Maine and to a lesser extent Sinn Féin, people get up in arms that for all of a sudden that Peadar Tóibín's not able to handle himself and he's not being heard. You don't feel that, do you?
No, I'm quite happy to have a good, robust discussion. A respectful discussion, but a robust discussion.
And I think you always have a respectful discussion when you come on Highland, or else you wouldn't come back on. So Peadar's well able to look after himself and could eat me up and spit me out. So don't worry about Peadar. But in terms of the HSE is already reviewing puberty blockers, I think the majority of people have serious concerns about that. We are already seeing in terms of Peadar sports. I think there's a pullback. As to where as to where we used to be. Are we not finding our levels sort of as we work through this? We went too far and now things are coming back a little bit naturally.
Yeah, I do think you're right to one extent in that there has been far more discussion about this. I think in 2015 when the Gender Recognition Act went through, most people, including myself, would have felt, we want to make sure that we have a live and let live society, okay? But what's happened, I think, is that the government are looking to re-engineer much of society to fit their ideology. And, you mentioned the reality that the government is now reassessing puberty blockers, and I mentioned, obviously, that the other countries are pulling back from it. There's no mention of the dangers of puberty blockers in this education system. There's no mention of the fact that 80% of people, young people especially, who feel that they're a different gender than their physical gender, if they're given support and care and help through time, they will actually come to learn exactly that, you know, this feeling will pass, if you know what I mean. So that this feeling isn't a feeling that, you know, needs to be locked in. And the problem is the government's policy is what's called gender affirmation. And that means that if a young person said, I feel that I'm a different gender, the government's policy is that at schools, in the health service and elsewhere, we immediately affirm that. We don't necessarily start to diagnose what are the reasons for that feeling. And there could be many reasons. People could have mental health issues, autism, difficulties they're having at home. And the problem is, if you don't actually treat the other comorbidities that could be leading to this feeling of a different gender, what you do is you send a child down a pathway of changing their gender, which could lead to significant, you know, major operations that could, you know, disfigure their physicality for the rest of their life, but without actually treating the real issues that are at the source of it.
But I don't see anything in the curriculum that goes against what you're saying there, because in the bit I read out, it wasn't like, and sometimes, you know, if someone who's born a boy might feel like a girl, here, take some puberty blockers, or here, go and get corrective surgery, or whatever you might call it. It's like, speak to a trusted adult, speak to a trusted friend. And I presume it's at that point when someone goes to their parents, that the parents go, right, okay, thank you for letting me know this is how you feel. And now we can go down the route of finding out if it's one thing or another, Peadar. But in the absence of giving the children that language, could they not suffer a worse outcome in terms of, you know, feeling bullied or lonely or suicidal or something? Like, is that in 5th or 6th class, and I say this is just to tease out the points, does this curriculum not encourage those children, not affirm what they're feeling, but encourage them to speak to a trusted adult? And then we can get to the bottom of it. And then it's the parent's responsibility as to whether or not it's one of the conditions that you talked of.
Well, so first of all, you're right in the terms of, if you look at specifically just the curriculum, but the NCCA, which is the national body for curriculum development in this country, also has a lot of toolkits. So these are supports and guides for teachers in how to implement the curriculum itself. And, you know, when you look at that, that's actually quite more startling in many ways. So that actually talks about teachers not using the words boys and girls in class anymore. So, you know, to actually delete the words boys and girls in class, because in some way it could have an effect on children and make them feel not included, you know, is quite a big step in terms of I think people would be really uncomfortable with that. And talking about the support documentation, and this is where I don't sort of, you know, have to play devil's advocate as much as I was heretofore. There's a person who's responsible for formulating this, that's given examples of a study of 11 children, I believe it is, one as young as 3. And that child is quoted as part of this decision-making process in saying that, you know, I'm a boy on the outside, but I'm a girl on the inside, or a reverse of that. And this person says this is provable that at that age, people know already if they are in the wrong gender. Now, it's mostly for the teachers, that information is, but that is feeding. I mean, I would like to see more evidence on that, rather than it being presented as fact that 3- and 4-year-olds know that they're in the wrong body, in inverted commas. And it's where this might go, I think, that parents need to keep an eye on. Sure. And if you were to distill Aintu's approach to this, we understand that there are some children who are having difficulties in terms of gender. And we want to make sure that they're treated with compassion and support. But we also want the education system to be based on science. Because if we base it on ideology, it means that it could actually lead to major difficulties for children in the future. So I mentioned gender affirmation there earlier. And, you know, if you go to the toolkits again, it states that you must accept the child's decided identity. And I've spoken to teachers on this. And, you know, they're telling me that there's no due diligence being done as to actually what's happening in the child's life to make them feel a certain way. It's just purely accepted. And once it's accepted, the transition is encouraged. And once the transition happens, the child in many ways gets locked into this process. And we're just calling for like common sense in relation to this. There's a serious lack of common sense.
What we need to do too is it's a lot of adults, and listen, it's our responsibility. A lot of adults backwards and forwardsing, and people are locked into a position on a lot of this stuff. What we have to make sure is that we are helping children and not harming or damaging them, because the consequences of what we are or not doing now will be felt for them not only just in their teen years, their 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s. So we need to make absolutely certain, rather than us getting polarised on two opposing arguments, to actually say, hold on a second, let's put that to one side, let's come together and let's make absolutely certain that we are helping and not harming children. And I'm worried that we're not doing that. I really am.
Yeah, and so you'll be aware of the Tavistock crisis in England. So obviously Tavistock was a gender identity clinic in England, and it started to process children in a similar fashion that I'd mentioned, that simply affirmed the identity without actually checking out what all the other issues were about. Now they have 1,000 people suing them at the moment because of the lack of due diligence and care that they provided for the children. And remember this as well. If you look, there's a gender identity clinic in Ireland, and these are the people who are most educated in this space, most based on science, and actually probably are the people who care most because they've invested their lives in it. Professor Donal O'Shea stated on the radio in terms of the government's gender ideology policies, he said that the government, and this is a quote, are being brainwashed by ideological activist groups in relation to their actions. And we're just saying, listen, guys, relax, pause, take it easy here. Let's start to make sure that we base our approach as a country on science and on evidence and not on ideology. And right now, the government have crowbarred ideology right in the middle of the education system. And that's quite dangerous. And we're just saying simply, that parents should have a right to have a say over what their children are being taught. Remember, the Department of Education is employed by parents to teach their kids. Mm-hmm. And now this department are actually going against parents' wishes in terms of that education. And it's a dangerous space when you block parents' input into education. So,
but there was, in fairness, there was a full consultation, and thousands of parents did have their say. Maybe those with different.
The majority opposing the government as well. Interesting.
But I one other thing too. Again, and this is only for children, all of the children that we have to be careful of. I talked a little earlier on that where we were at, right? So where we were at, whereas sport was very, very inclusive and other things, and now that's rolling back a little bit in terms of puberty blockers and what have you. But this curriculum is born of the time when, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, when everyone was rushing to just thinking maybe they were doing the right thing, maybe it'll turn out to be. And this is locked in now, whereas we're seeing it in the education of children, yet we're seeing in the other areas that we talk of that we're having pause for thought and a rethink. Do you get where I'm coming from? And I just wonder if they need to sort of, now as we maybe are seeing as the dust settles and having more conversation, if they say, right, okay, is this locked into what we thought was the right thing 4 or 5 years ago, but maybe we've learned a little bit more since?
So I understand for sure that people come to this on both sides from compassion. So people feel that they're doing the right thing by those who they feel are the most vulnerable. But my worry on this is, this is now being delivered right through society. So, you have a situation, incredible situation, where the HSE is advertising their cervical check services to people with cervixes rather than women. They've advertised, breastfeeding as chest feeding. That the government's tried to get rid of the word mother from maternity legislation, not just a year ago.
But they're not getting away with it, though. That's all been, most of that's been backtracked.
This is where the pushback is. The pushback is coming from, and I think it's because the government have way overstepped.
But just to reiterate my point, that pushback, I don't know if it's reflected in this document. That's the point I'm trying to make, you see. It's still locked into where we were at 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, I agree. I think that the education system currently and the thinking in the NCCA is absolutely still where, the state may have been 3 or 4 years ago. So I do think it's a historic, it's an out-of-date approach. And I do think people have moved on and realised that there's actually more balance and safety and concern needed in this space. There are other elements of the sex education system that are difficult as well in relation to, let's say, hardcore pornography. We believe obviously that children need to be, I suppose, educated into what hardcore pornography is, but we do understand that kids need to be taught about the dangers of hardcore pornography, that consumption of hardcore pornography can lead to sexual violence, rape and assault. But we've heard people from the NCCA being interviewed on the radio, for example, saying that one of the tools they can use, one of the resources they can use to help teach about hardcore pornography would maybe be a script of a pornographic film to be discussed in class with the children.
Good luck finding one of them.
Like it's just incredible because many parents at least are trying their best to keep kids away from hardcore pornography.
But again, I think we need to do something there. I think young men particularly are getting their education from pornography. I think young girls are having expectations set for them from pornography. And I also am really concerned that the most searched term in Ireland on Pornhub, stepsister or stepmom. So whatever's going on, we need to whatever's going on, we need to sort that out. I don't know how we do it, but ignoring it's not going to fix it.
Aim to have a bill, and that bill would actually prevent pornography companies from targeting children with materials. So, and we were told that it couldn't happen. We identified, a system whereby internet search companies such as, Virgin and Air, for example, they would have to put a block on a company providing material to children if that company didn't put in some system to identify age. And again, we were told it couldn't happen. The French government are now going exactly down that route because right across the world, people are understanding that providing 10, 11 to 5-year-olds with really hardcore materials absolutely distorts their understanding of what sexual relationships, healthy sexual relationships should be. As you said, it distorts girls' understanding of what's expected from them in society, and that they have a right to withhold consent. And it's leading to violence on a significant scale. Like sexual violence has increased in Ireland rapidly over the last 10 years, and sexual violence by children on children is also increasing rapidly. We're making victims and perpetrators out of our children.
Okay, listen, interesting conversation, and we will get nowhere in this society unless we start conversing again, because you know what I mean, public discourse, conversation, exchange of views where people's views are hardened or softened or whatever it is. We have to keep talking, Peadar, and I appreciate you coming on. The meeting is tonight in the Mount Ergal Hotel, Letterkenny, at 8 p.m. And I'd say there'll be a big turnout because it's a very important, I know I'm going to get hammered for trying to tease out the points with you, but that's my job. And I did sit down and I went through it the exact same way you did so that we could have a structured and hopefully constructive conversation.
I would agree. I'm a firm believer that the competition of ideas is the best way to organize a democracy. Because when people, make their points in respectful competition with each other, the people can then see what are the best, most common sense ideas, and they then percolate into policy. It's when actually people don't converse or when some views are censored, that's the dangerous place in it. I've no doubt there'll be a big turnout tonight. We did a similar meeting in Dublin where 500 or 600 people turned up a number of weeks ago as well. So we want the discussion tonight to be compassionate, respectful and science-based.
Have a good day. Take care. Peadar Tóibín there, leader of Aintu.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Get down to O'Flaherty's Bar Buncrana on Friday the 1st of September with live music from Derek Ryan and special guest David James. Every Wednesday at O'Flaherty's there's live traditional Irish music and Irish dancing, and for all the quiz fans, every Thursday night featuring the Smart Quiz. Plus lots more every weekend. O'Flaherty's Bar Buncrana, where a good pint always goes over the bar.
When you want to get the job done, you need Screwfix. Need something fast? Easy. With Screwfix, you can click and collect in as little as 1 minute. Need more choice? No problem. We've a huge range of over 10,000 products available in store, including top trade brands like DeWalt, Makita, Myra and Titan. Simply shop online at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions.
Choosing the perfect stove is a big decision. Here at Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet, we are one of Ireland's leading dealers in stoves and ranges in a variety of styles and sizes at exceptional prices. And with our professional advice, we're sure we'll find the perfect one just for you. So call 074 9131 700 or visit thestovestore.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 11:31 now. Regular listeners would know that sometimes we have clowns on this programme. And in fact, some people would say there's a clown on this programme every day. Lee Gooch, no, me. Right, but what we are going to have very shortly is an actual clown on the programme. So if you want to see the clown, get onto our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. You will see the clown, Kazoo the clown. An interesting story. And if you want to go on Facebook, Highland Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport, and you can watch my interview with Kazoo the clown. And we actually have an official clown on the programme. So stay with us for that. But because I thought it an interesting conversation with Pader ran on a little bit. I'm behind on one ad, so I'm going to get that now. And then after that, it's Kazoo the clown. Stay where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Encountering wildlife under South African skies. Setting sail on the Danube. Discover more with Travel Department and save up to €100 per person on guided group holidays, now and in 2024. Sunsets in Sorrento, exploring Egypt and the iconic Nile River. We'll take care of everything. Flights, accommodation, excursions and expert guides. All you have to do is book. Go to traveldepartment.com. Let's see more. T's and C's apply.
The Redcastle Oceanfront Golf and Spa Hotel would like to invite you to their wedding fair on Sunday, 3rd of September from 2 till 5 p.m. Meet the wedding team, top industry suppliers with breathtaking views, refreshments and great incentives for bookings made on the day. For more information, please contact events@redcastlehotel.com.
Cervical Check provides free cervical screening for women aged 25 to 65. HPV cervical screening is one of the best ways to reduce your risk of developing cervical cancer in the future. If you're due your cervical screening, don't delay. Make an appointment today. For information and to check you're on the register, visit hsc.ie/cervical check or free phone 1-800 45 45 55. From the HSE.
Okay, I'm joined in studio now by Kazoo the clown, a.k.a. Jess Harkin. Kazoo, Jess?
Hello.
Interchangeable. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you keeping?
I'm good. How are you?
And I have to say, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. You are going to be performing with the circus here shortly. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But talk to me a little about yourself, because very early on, you got the bug to be a clown. How did that come about?
Yeah, I saw a circus when I was 3 and I thought that the clowns owned the elephants. And I thought if I became a clown that I would get a pet elephant. But I've been working for a circus for 2 years now and still no elephants, so I need to have words with Fan Post.
But I mean, like, obviously at that time, animals would have been more common. You had trapeze artists, you had people standing on chairs and all manner of things. Why do you think it was the clown that stood out for you?
Well,
other than the moaning elephants.
The elephants were the coolest thing and the clowns were the next coolest thing. So in my mind, they had to be the ones in charge. So the clowns owned the elephants. That's the way my 3-year-old brain worked.
But at 3, you wanted to be a clown.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So then as you, I mean, you know, I remember when I was younger, you'd watch Rambo or something and next thing you know, you'd have a pretending knife and all that kind of stuff. Was it like that, for you, for clowns? Did then you instantly want to dress up and act out? And
I didn't really have anything like that back then, so I didn't dress up or anything. I just told everyone that I wanted to be a clown, and that did not go down well in school. So I did quickly get bullied out of that and forgot about it for a long time. But I started doing magic tricks then when I was 12.
So when you went into school, you had to suppress that in you a little bit, yeah?
Yeah. the kids just kind of teased me about it, so I kind of gave up on it for a long time.
You had to hide that part of you. So then you hit 12, you start doing magic tricks and stuff. What got you into that?
Well, I saw Darren Brown on TV, and I just thought it was wonderful. So I started learning tricks on YouTube and showing my family and friends, and it went down very well. But I was very shy, so when I started doing birthday parties and stuff, it was not great. So that's when I decided to make a clown character when I was about maybe 13 or 14. And that's when I made Kazoo, and it was just easier to be Kazoo rather than me.
Yeah, because I'm not just reading the notes here. I don't think you enjoyed school too much. I think it was a bit tough for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I dropped out.
Yeah, okay, so did I, by the way.
Go team. Go team.
Go dropouts. So, and when you were doing the magic tricks, did you find yourself like terrible sort of fear beforehand? Then it went okay, and then you were, that's brilliant for 5 minutes. Then you forgot that, and then the fear of it doing it again started up, or was it all a nightmare for you?
It's the fear of going up to people and saying, do you want to see a magic trick? As soon as they say yes, then I'm fine. then it was okay. And then it was over again, then it was fine too, because then we had something to talk about.
And you used magic really as your introduction to people. You know, it started the interactions, the first conversations and all that kind of stuff. So it was a tool for you. And we often use that, don't we? We use laughter or humour or whatever it might be. So this was just your wee version of what we most of us use in society anyway.
Exactly.
How good at magic were you? Darren Brown's... is it Darren Brown?
Darren Brown, yeah.
Darren Brown. He is something else, isn't he?
He is. I've met him now. He's very cool.
Yeah.
Nowhere near his level.
But he's not like... I mean, he does a bit of... you know, the close-up magic and stuff, but his is more mentalism now, isn't it? Mentalism, is that it? You know what I mean? And tricking the mind, and it's beyond how he does a lot of the stuff he does. But his stage shows, I've only seen the live ones, as you know, he's well in with Channel 4, but they are an experience, a journey, a story. You know, I think one was about his relationship with his father, and, you know, it's all very meaningful.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've met him. He seems like a decent chap.
Yeah, he does.
All right, okay. So then, that's magic from 12. You continue that through. When did you say that Kazoo was born?
Around when I was 13 or 14.
You've got no water and I've got coffee.
It's all good.
So around 13, 14?
About 13 or 14, yeah.
And how did you perform, or where did you...
It was mainly cousins' birthday parties at that stage.
Yeah. And had you a routine practiced and ready to go at that point?
Yeah, I was doing magic tricks and a few balloon animals, face paints.
Yeah. Okay. And at what point did it get to where you thought there's a career in this? Because, I mean, I presume people around you were going, hold on, yeah? You know?
Well, when I first started, I wanted to do more of the Darren Brown stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do kids' parties at all. Children are scary, you know?
Yeah.
But all my parents and all the adults around me told me that all magicians start with kids' parties.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I just got kind of good at it, so I stick with it. And then I got my first circus job just before the pandemic. It was in Letterkenny. It was a Santa's Grotto circus. With different crowd than what I'm with now.
Yeah. And what was that like?
It was really fun. I was an elf, though, not a clown.
Right.
But
that's what they told you.
Yeah. It was just for a couple of months, and then he passed on my details to the guys I'm with now after the pandemic, and I've been with them since. So.
Wow. Okay. So it's a culmination of a dream since you were 3.
Yep.
And has it matched all your expectations, Jess?
There's a lot more sweeping than I thought there would be, but yeah, it's wonderful. It's a lot of hard work, but really fun.
Yeah. And what is the life in a circus like? Because there was a circus up recently, up in that was touring around Donegal, and there's some amount of equipment and everything's set up, and it pops up and then it's down, and then they move 15 kilometres away, and it all again. I presume everyone has to be involved in that.
Yeah.
You know, no one can sit in a trailer just doing nothing here. I'd imagine it takes the whole team to do all of that. Is it tough? Is it as tough as it looks?
Oh yes, there's 5 of us at the minute, and everyone helps with everything.
Now, you're in a different type of circus, of course. I'm on about a massive, grandiose one. Yours is, how would you describe the circus that you're involved in?
It's a traditional circus.
Traditional circus, okay. Would you like that other side of it? Do you know the big versions that I'm talking of?
I think it's nice too, but there is a better atmosphere in the smaller shows.
Yeah.
And everyone's packed in.
And also, you're not restricted by space or booking or whatever. You can just go to a venue.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, okay. And is it your circus or circuses generally, are they for kids and adults sneakily enjoy it, or if they're for everyone?
They're for everyone.
Yeah.
Of course.
Cool.
Circus was originally just for adults, and then kids started going and they added in the animals and the clowns.
I don't mind the animals not being in as much. That's the one thing I didn't really like about
well, they've been banned since 2018.
Yeah,
so.
I wasn't. No, I don't mind if you want to pull a rabbit out. I won't judge you on that. So then, talk to me about the crew that you're working with. As you mentioned, it's a crew of 5, and that there's still an awful lot of work to be done with the type of traditional circus that you're involved in. So. What is the show? Because we're talking about a show that's coming up as well very shortly, between the 1st and the 10th in Letterkenny, across from McDonald's there. But so what is your show about?
Well, we've got trapeze, fire breathing, hand balancing, comedy, bananas. You have to see the show to understand that. There's little bits of everything. There's even lasers, so we got a little bit of a modern twist in it too. But it's all very traditional, and I really like it.
Yeah, but it's still a big show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Loads of big trucks outside too.
Show. Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. And is it what do you do? Like, I mean, what is the role of a clown in a circus now, as you see it? Because obviously you've got your magic skills and all that type of stuff as well.
I'm doing comedy routines and doing magic routines as well. So.
Right. Okay.
A little bit of both.
What's your best magic trick?
Not one that I do in the show, because it's broken currently, and it's been broken for 3 years, and I can't find anyone that can fix it. But it was a floating table.
I knew a magician once who their favourite act was, what do you call it when you saw people?
Oh, as I saw a lady in half.
Yeah. But they did. It took an awful long time to perfect it. They got very good at it, but at the moment now they've got 3 half sisters and 2 half brothers.
Hey, you know the first guy that did that trick when it was like, it was a long time ago, and to publicise it, they had an ambulance outside the venue.
Oh, no.
And a big sign on it that said, "In case the saw slips."
Oh, wow, fantastic. And it's the little things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just the little things. Right, so it's nice to bring joy to people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the part that you enjoy? This laugh, the smiles?
Smiles is the best bit.
Yeah. And particularly the younger ones.
Yeah, well, both. I like.
But do you not feel that? But I think part of me would go, right, it would be lovely if the next 3-year-old Jess was in the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to influence them and bring joy into their life.
Yeah, I like to make sure that everyone gets a souvenir, so I try to stand outside after the shows to get pictures of people. And if kids are too shy, then I'll still give them a sticker so that they have some kind of souvenir, because the Polaroid that I got of me on the elephant, I carried it around for weeks.
Oh, wow, brilliant.
I still have it as well.
Right, so where do you tour? Is it all over the country? Is it international, or what's the story?
Just in Ireland. We've been touring around Donegal for the last couple of months now, which has been lovely for me.
Yeah, handy, so close to home.
Got to see my family and stuff, and they've got to see the show because they hadn't seen it before now.
Yeah.
So.
And is it seasonal, Jess?
We stop around the end of October and then start up again in March.
Okay, brilliant. And you're always working towards, well, what can we change, what can we do, and all that kind of stuff. And then, do you have a schedule for next year, or do you see how it goes as the year breaks?
We just see how it goes. I don't even know where we're going next.
Brilliant. Well, that's nice, though, isn't it? And life, would you call it life on the road?
Yeah, definitely.
It's life on the road.
It's a different town every week.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
Heck yeah.
All right, okay. And originally, Jess, you're from Letterkenny?
Well, I'm from Convoy.
Convoy, okay.
Born in Letterkenny, though.
Born in Letterkenny, okay.
I did work in Tesco for 2 years.
Okay, but you're enjoying this. Is Kazoo really banned from Tinder?
I was.
What?
Yeah.
We get some random comments in here. What are you on about?
Yeah, I used to do not a routine. I used to do a mini series on TikTok, where I would just go on Tinder and change all my pictures to Kazoo, and just see the funny messages that I would get and reply to them, and then TikTok banned me.
TikTok banned you?
No, sorry, Tinder banned me.
I was going to say,
TikTok did also ban me, but they thought I was underage. That's what I do. I get banned on things and then get it back again. But the press reached out to Tinder and asked them for comment, and then they unbanned me.
I think that's a bit of clan discrimination going on there.
It made international news. So just woke up one morning, I was in the New York Post, and then they put me on the Drew Barrymore show.
Really? When was that?
Yeah, last year.
My God, were you on Zoom on the Drew Barrymore show? Did you go over or what?
No, they just showed the TikToks on
I get
on
you.
the show.
I know the item that you're talking
But
of.
if you go up on YouTube and you type in Drew Barrymore clown, it'll show up.
I don't miss much. I can't believe I missed that story because I'm never off the phone. Yeah, I can't believe that. All right, brilliant stuff. So you got great publicity and you're on Tinder or Kazoo's on Tinder or whatever fancy takes you. That's completely up to you. Right, so you're doing, is it 9 shows or just the shows between the 1st and 10th of September?
We're doing 7 shows. So it's this
shows.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Hold on a second. It's September soon. Right, I thought we're still in the summer. Remind when you're doing it again. Sorry, I thought September was about 2 months away.
So it's from the 1st to the 10th. We're in Letterkenny at the minute. We moved here last night. So we're doing the shows this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And again, I'm confusing different things. Is it in your tent or is it in a venue?
Oh, it's in the tent.
In a tent.
Yes,
okay.
we're right across from McDonald's.
Right. Okay.
So I can get my clown food.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to figure out where that is. Yeah, I know where it is now. All right. Okay. So you get the full circus experience. There's lots of stuff. I like the modern twist, a bit of laser stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. And Jess, you're happy out. You're enjoying life.
Definitely.
Enjoying, and it's good to get home as well.
Yeah.
But are you staying at home or with the rest of the crew?
No, I'm staying in a wagon at the
Yeah, exactly. That's
show.
right. You can't have any divas.
I'll probably get home at night after a show or something to see
right,
the cat.
Okay, so how do you can't book in advance? You turn up, don't you? On the
If you go down to the circus side, you can. But if you're about half an hour before the show, you should be fine.
Brilliant. Okay, and just remind us once again the dates and the times and the location.
So the 1st to the 10th, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, and next week the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we're across from McDonald's in the town.
All right, brilliant stuff. And what time is it, did you say?
Oh, the times. Let's see.
I was wondering why you were avoiding that. Very
right,
good.
it's 7 on Friday, 5 on Sunday. Oh no, 5 on Saturday.
So there's a good
7
mix.
on Saturday, 7 on Friday, 5 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday, and then next week it's 7 on Thursday, 7 on Friday, 5 on Saturday,
And then you chilled on Sunday. And then you
2
chilled on Sunday. Come here. Where's their Facebook page?
There is. It's Circus Corvinio.
Corvinio, okay. Well, listen, fantastic story, Jess, aka Kazoo. It's I love happy stories, and the fact that you're sort of realising the dream of a 3-year-old, to me, is just beautiful.
It's fun.
And I'm so happy for you, and continued success with it. And you're with this crew now. You see yourself with them you're obviously in a family now, and see your future there. Listen, thank you so much for joining us, Jess Harkin, aka Kazoo the Clown. You can see Kazoo and the rest of the crew, as we heard there, on dates between the 1st and 10th of September at various times across from McDonald's. And just remind people of the Facebook page one more time.
Circus Corvinio.
We'll be back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
With electrified finance rates available exclusively at iMotors. Find out how affordable our used electrical vehicles are with finance rates from 3.9% on all used electrical vehicles at iMotors. Low finance, no fuel bills. Doesn't it sound like the perfect second car for your household? Call in to Letterkenny or Malin to find out more or visit imotors.ie.
Get outdoor toys at great prices in the massive end of summer sale now on at Tinny's Toys. Make big savings on trampolines, slides, swings, and so much more. Visit the website tinnystoys.com or call into the store at Leck Road, Letterkenny.
Your career starts with Northwest Regional College. Come along to your local Derry, Londonderry, Strabane or Limavady campus to apply for a course or confirm your place. Choose from our wide range of apprenticeships, level 3 diplomas, foundation degrees and so much more. Visit nwrc.ac.uk/results. Northwest Regional College.
Where's the party? Bundoran presents Ireland's biggest indoor dancing festival, the World Matchmaking Festival, in 4 venues for 10 days, 10 nights, September 29th to October 8th. Starring 35 bands, including the Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, David James, Declan Nerney, plus blind date and speed dating. Book now for accommodation and entertainment package deals. Log on to showtours.ie or call 0818 300 888. Meet your match in Bundoran. Very special guest from Lisdoonvarna, the world famous matchmaker Willie Daly.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Joined on it now by Principal of St Columba's Comprehensive in Glenties, Brendan O'Mahony. Good morning, Brendan.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Now, Oreo, a community dog working at the school. What is the story here?
What is the story? So Oreo has joined us. He joined us about 3 weeks ago as the newest member of staff, and he's come to us from Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind, and he's working with us as a community dog.
Yeah, and what is the advantage of having a community dog in your school, Brendan?
Well, we've just opened 2 special classrooms for the first time in the school's history. So we've opened a special class for students with autism and a special class for students with multiple disabilities. So Oreo really complements the work that goes on in those classrooms, but also in the wider school. So any students that might have behavioural difficulties or emotional difficulties or anxiety or stress or anything like that, Oreo is there to help reduce those barriers to learning, and really it's about maximizing the learning potential of the students. He's 2 at Christmas, and he's still young, he's still learning, but he is an incredible asset and a resource to have in the school. As I say, he joined us from Irish Guide Dogs, so we're very grateful to them. There's only 14 community dogs in Irish schools at the moment, so we feel very privileged to have him. And so he's the first in Donegal, and he's the first, I believe, north of Galway. So we're very fortunate to have him in the school.
Fantastic. And his skill set, or her skill set, is very, very particular, tried and tested. Only 3 weeks in the job. And everyone's still learning the ropes, I suppose, because it's a wee bit of a change, isn't it, and a different approach, particularly north of that Galway-Dublin line.
Yeah. So a lot of consultation went on with staff in the build up to this as part of the application to Irish Guide Dogs. It was a very rigorous application, and I suppose vetting process for us as a school to make sure we met the requirements. We have 3 staff in the school who are handlers, and again, they're all trained as handlers in the school. We had consultation with parents as well, because we recognised that it was quite a departure to have a dog in the school. And for some people, when they think of a dog, they might anticipate a dog running free through the corridors, but it's quite the opposite. It's very, very controlled, and he's not a pet or a mascot. He is very much a working dog, and he's there to support our students. He has his own timetable. He has his own safe spaces where he can, switch off and, I suppose, decompress, because it's intensive work that he does. He's limited to 4 sessions a day with the students, and that can range from anything from, taking the dog, something simple like taking the dog for a walk or grooming the dog or doing animal care. But it can be a little bit more intense one-to-one. If you have a student who maybe is a school refuser and doesn't want to be here, Oreo can be the difference. He can be the reason they come into school. He's there in the mornings greeting students, and he can be the reason the student stays in the school. So it's a massive benefit to us. For the special classrooms, yes, but for the wider school community as well. And it is early days, and his timetable will evolve and change, but it's all based around the needs of the students. So, yeah, he's settling in quite nicely. He's a few sessions a day. We'll build up to 4 sessions a day eventually. But it's going very well so far.
And required buy-in from staff as well. Presumably, it's the teachers have to be his designated handlers. Is that correct? And also, there comes they have to buy into it and go, right, I can see the benefits of this, and you can't just have one because there's holidays and what have you as well. Exactly. So you had to have your team on board with you to say, right, this is best for the students. Let's go with this.
Yeah, that's right. We've 2 teachers and 1 SNA who are his handlers and who will do the work one-to-one or in groups or in classroom activities. So there had to be buy-in, but from the wider staff and the community as well, there was apprehension amongst maybe some staff or parents. But again, we had open dialogue and we explained, if there's a student who has an anxiety around dogs or allergies, the dog won't be going anywhere near them. And it's very controlled, as I say. There's only certain rooms the dog will be in and certain spaces. So, for example, he's currently lying next to me, having a time out on the floor in my office. But again, I'm not a handler, so he just comes here to switch off while I'm working. But yeah, it's very beneficial to the students. As I say, it could be something simple like reading to the dog. It could be just sitting down and reading to the dog that allows that student to relax. It could be more significant. You could have a student who's in real crisis, and they could be suffering potentially a trauma or a panic attack or something like that. And this could be it could be the dog that calms them down, allows them to regulate their mood and their emotions. So yeah, We're very, very optimistic. It's early days. We've been told by Irish Guide Dogs in no uncertain terms that we have to reinforce his training, and it's very strict in terms of his diet. He's not allowed in the staff room for that reason. He's not allowed in the canteen for that reason. So it's very, very controlled. And even if somebody wants to meet him or interact with him, it's all on, it's very controlled. The handlers have to agree to it, and then the dog has to sit or lie down. And again, it's very calm. He's a very calm, sociable dog.
As you explain, it sounds all bloody complicated and but in practice, it works really well. I'm sure, and it'll work even more smoothly as the term wears on. I really look forward to maybe chatting to you again to see how, and I'm sure other schools will be saying how's that going for you, and we'd love to chat again, Brendan. But and he came named Oreo, I take it.
He did. He came from a litter down in Cork, and he was fostered by a family to socialise him for the first 12 months. And then he was trained intensely by Irish Guide Dogs. And he came with the name Oreo. But it suits him. He's a lovely black Labrador.
Great.
And
we'll have to take your word for it. I'm having a white middle. Okay. Listen, thank you so much for that, Brendan. It's a great departure or adventure or initiative, and we'll track it and see how you get on. Sounds brilliant. Thank you so very much indeed. Brendan O'Mahony there, who is principal of St. Columba's Comprehensive in Glenties. Now, right at the beginning of the show, 3 hours ago, I was chatting to Lee Gooch, and Lee mentioned quite rightly that we have, it's the culmination of our mega summer cash draw here on Highland Radio. It all wraps up on Friday around about 11:30. We've 12.5 grand to give away on Friday. €2,500 on the naughty alarm clock. I'm going to sit in with Lee from about 8:30. Maybe you'll let me do the secret sound. I don't know. But anyway, we'll give away the 2.5 grand. I can't promise the secret sound. And then later on in the show, on my show, then on this show, on our show, we will give away 10,000. If you want to be in with a chance to, if you want to be in both draws, there's going to be a rush on Friday. Okay, Thursday evening, Friday. Now's the chance to get your tickets. Go on our website, highlandradio.com. You can buy a ticket there for €10. You get a free ticket if you buy 5, 2 if you buy 80, obviously well within your means, and so you can have a bit of fun with it or group in with other people or whatever you want to do. On our website, safe and secure, you can get on there right now. If you want to give us a call, we can help you in that regard as well. 07491 25,000 and we'll process your ticket. Or if you want to call into us at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, if you're a cash-only type of person, then we can sort that out as well. But the bottom line is the point I want to reiterate. There's going to be a rush on, and particularly if you're not using the website. If you're going to get a ticket, give us a buzz now or call up over the next day or two to make sure you're in with a chance. You're going to be in both draws, 2.5 grand or 10 grand or both in the unlikely event. Okay, that is where we have to leave it. Stay tuned. John Breslin's coming up around the